please don't hear any of this, Brad.
And Dad's like, I got the fuck out of there. I was like, oh man, you didn't partake?
Do you fear death?
Oh, one of the greatest lines of all time.
I could have chopped it. I could have chopped it.
Trumpinator 2020.
Making me 30 sides of red sauce.
Listened to so much. Are you
That needs two, motherfucker.
All right, Miss Peggy. Episode 88.
Yes, 88. Wow.
88.
That
I
is-
didn't think I'd have 20.
Really?
I didn't think I'd either stick with it or I'd have enough people that would be willing to come on the show. Thought,
Well, a
maybe
lot
some
of people
close
don't
friends.
like to talk about.
Yeah, there have been a lot of people who are really resistant to it, but I think a lot of people sell themselves short because it's just having a conversation.
Right.
But it's that fear
Yes.
of putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
You don't seem to have that problem. What is that about our personalities to where? Because
I think I was raised that way. I was one of 7 kids. There was 4 of us girls. I was the baby.
You were the
till I
baby?
was 5.
Okay.
Then when I was 5, my mom and dad had Judy,
Okay.
and then that's when I was pushed aside.
Okay.
So, and she was the baby, and my sisters loved her, that was the doll, and I was just like, wait a minute.
Well, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of
yeah.
tricky, even with 3. As the oldest one gets to do more things, the younger ones want to do those things.
Right.
And now we've got 2 of them who have had the talk.
See, and that's what we're 3 years. I'm 3. My Archie was like 3 years older, almost 4. Becky was 2, so we were like stair steps.
Yeah.
And then Judy came along, and it was like, oh shit, because she was
Yeah.
5 years younger than me.
Yeah.
But to Archie and Becky, that was a doll. So by the
Yeah.
time Judy got old enough to be walking and the fun wore off, then I was old enough to where Mom shipped me off with them. When they went and hung out, then take your sister.
Right.
So I got to see a lot more than what I should have seen. And
Right. You think that
They
was
didn't-
a bad thing? In hindsight?
well, I grew up in California in the 70s.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a place called Marina Palace
Yeah.
out in Long Beach, and they had a rotating stage. There was 3 bands.
Oh, really?
And I'm on a Remembering Marina Palace page on Facebook, and some of the bands that played there are like, I saw them. What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? So, and it's weird to think about the generation, because I was like the cusp, I guess, because I'm not really my parents' generation, but then I'm not really Mandy's. I'm stuck like somewhere in the middle of where do I fit in, because I'm too bold and brass especially for the kids nowadays. They just,
my gosh, yeah.
And then I wasn't loud enough,
Really?
I think, oh yeah. I didn't get my voice till probably out of high school, maybe, and that's whenever,
understandable.
because my sisters, they picked and were very mean. That's why Mandy was an only child, because she always wanted brothers and sisters, and I was like, no, you don't. No.
Right.
That's a farce. That they lie to you. You're just there for them.
Right.
And so, yeah, it was. I had a fight with both of them once I got to teenager. Right. Becky and I fought until we were just give out, and both of us were like, "Okay, let's call a truce." Boom.
Yeah.
Neither one of us. We won't ever, and we never did it again. And then Archie and I. We used to go out to the bars together, and I was like 18, 19, going out to the bars, and never got ID'd. Well, she went and told them at the bar that I wasn't 21.
What a
You
snitch.
bitch. So I went to the next bar, and then somebody come in, they're like, your sister's here. And I'm like, she is. And it was a hotel, and like you went through the lobby. And so I met her at the lobby door, and I just jerked her out in the parking lot, and it was on. And her friends jumped in her car, left her behind. Archie's running through the parking lot, and I'm just smacking. You want to fucking tell somebody shit? So, yeah, that's whenever they realized, okay, let's leave this bitch alone.
Well, it's hard to find an identity, especially in public school, because you're getting so many things thrown at you, so much peer pressure,
Yes.
wearing the right kind of shoes, buying this.
Yes.
And I mean, even in Farmington, Arkansas, you saw that. You had to
Yes.
have these shoes, you had to buy from this
Right.
place, or you weren't
Right.
popular.
See, we weren't. Then Levi's were the thing, and Van shoes.
Yeah.
That was so. There wasn't really the clothing
Sure.
in when we were
Sure.
younger. There wasn't the name brand. I
Okay,
mean,
that hadn't
you
really come
had your
around yet.
you had your rich kids,
Sure.
but the more of us were poor. We
Sure,
didn't.
sure.
There wasn't brand names. Ditto. We thought Dittos were the bomb, so, but it was Levi's. People wore Dittos or Levi's, and then Van shoes were in, Wallabies,
Yeah.
that's what we called,
Yeah.
but that was the things that were in. And so it wasn't really a competition back then on clothing of who's wearing what. And that came along more with Mandy's.
Yes. Because that
People.
was, well, she's about my age. I
Yes,
think.
45.
Yeah, I'm 43.
I'm 45. I don't know how she made it.
I don't know
to
how
mine,
that works.
you
Yeah,
know,
the
but
math
yeah.
is not quite adding
Yeah,
up.
it's crazy.
But you're
So,
right.
But
with
that's
her,
where the name brand started
Yes.
in, and it was horrible with
It
the
was
girl.
horrible, but I think if you had some insight, especially at a young age, to see if I have to do these things in order to be their friend, I don't want to be their friend anyway.
Right. And see, and Mandy and the boys too, they had poor kids and rich kids as friends. They never.
Sure.
It was never. They weren't in just one.
A clique.
So yeah.
Yeah.
It was like no. It's
Yeah, and I think
we
that's
include-
good. I
yeah.
think that's healthy.
Yeah.
Because you're limiting yourself to a tribe. So
Right.
anybody that's outside of that tribe is automatically
Yes.
like an enemy
Right.
almost.
Yeah, and that's what in raising the boys in West Fork. That's what I told them because
Yeah.
Chance had just graduated kindergarten when I got with Frank, and Taylor started kindergarten that year.
Okay.
So I told them, I want you guys to understand that West Fork is very cliquey,
Yeah.
and we're not part of that clique.
Right.
It's just facts. There's just
Yes.
those are facts.
But ironically,
And
if you did,
they had the kids that lived on the corner to the, founding fathers and
Yeah.
in between. And they're still friends with all of them.
Yeah.
So that, to me, that was,
but I think that's beautiful.
oh, yeah. But when I first got with Frank, he wouldn't let him play with the kids on the corner. What do you mean?
Right.
He's like, no, we don't do that. And all I could think of was my grandmother and talking about the dirty kids that lives across the street from her and don't know those dirty kids. And
Yeah.
why? What do you mean? So I am thankful to have grown up in California with the diversity
Yeah.
that I grew up
Sure.
with. Because back here, there's not a lot of diversity. There is now
Right.
more than then.
Well, what kind of diversity are you talking about?
Like in race and
Races
ethnic
and
and
yeah.
things like that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I
for
remember
sure.
when the Hispanics first started at the lab.
Oh
When
my
I first
God.
started there wasn't hardly any. And then they came. And what drove the people crazy was that they can't understand what they're saying.
Right.
And I'm like, what does it matter? Well, they could be talking about me. Okay. And what does that matter?
Right. I remember a lot
I
of
don't
racism toward them,
get
yeah.
that in
You're talking about when, like in the 90s, when the Mexican population really started
2000.
growing up.
I started in 2000 at
yeah.
Walmart.
I
So
definitely
yes,
remember
it
a
was
lot
like
of people.
when I first moved back here and I went to Jose's on Dixon on May 5th, which is Cinco de Mayo.
Mayo.
California is lit up like Christmas on Cinco de Mayo, and they looked at me like I was like half, what Cinco who?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys are a Hispanic restaurant. You don't celebrate
Right.
But then real Hispanics don't celebrate Cinco de Mayo. I mean, they
Do they
laugh
not?
at us. They laugh at us for celebrating it. Yeah.
So we've culturally
I'm like, you mean
appropriated
it's not
something.
your Independence Day? And they're like, no,
bullshit.
that's America's way of, So yeah.
So we culturally appropriated a holiday for ourselves.
absolutely. But my
that shit does
Hispanics are like,
happen.
yes, absolutely.
You know.
I mean, and so that's why I say I grew up with them. So it's not when they talk about the border and things like that. It's like, what? I grew up with these people. They're
Yeah.
not. And I grew up in the gangs
Sure.
to where they were fighting at least once a week. There was a
Right.
gang fight, but there was never a gun involved.
Right.
Nobody. I don't ever recall a gun being used at a gang fight.
Right.
There were knives, chains. That's what they would
Yeah.
have, is chains. And the girls would have their ratted up hair, and they would have razor blades in them.
Yep.
You know, so things like that. But they bothered themselves. They didn't bother us. They didn't.
Well, my problem with just a fully open border is that you can allow terrorist cells to come in unvetted,
And they're going to come anyway.
possibly,
You know,
but it does make me nervous to just say anybody. I mean, we're one of the only
Right.
countries in the world over the last 4 years is just let anybody in with no
Right,
vetting
and
process.
I understand that just anybody, but I'm for the bad people. They're going to be bad people,
Well,
and they're going to
yeah.
they're going to be here. They're
Yeah.
here.
But why
I
make it
mean,
easy for them?
Do we make it easy for them? I mean,
Well, I mean, the border's been wide open for 4 years now.
right, but have you ever been across the border?
I've never been to the border.
See, you should go to the border. And I've been across it. I've
Have
been, I had a friend, her parents had a deaf mute ranch in Mexico,
Yeah,
in Guadalupe. And it was called Rancho Soromuto.
right.
And it was they went down and opened it, and they took care of Mexican children because sign language is the same
Yeah, absolutely.
all over the world.
Right.
So her brother was
That was
deaf,
cool.
and so they went down and started this ranch and taught the deaf mute children. So it's a culture thing, and at the border they stop everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you can't. They are. Oh God, I don't. It's just I think the media like makes it really the terrorists are all getting
Well, it's
in
fear
on the
porn.
board, right?
Yes.
And so living in California and people coming across where my sister lived in down at the bottom of Texas, and her husband was in the military, and I can't the
Right.
name of it doesn't, but it's like, and they had a lot of Hispanic that
Sure.
would come across, and that's what she
And
said.
most of
They
these
didn't
people are
have
great people
problems.
that just
Yes,
want a better
and that's
life.
what she said. It wasn't
100%.
bad. She said there were bad people,
Right.
but that's where I say there's bad in all of us.
Well, sure.
I mean, let's do something about the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Why can't we do anything about that?
Well, two things can be true at once. I feel like
right.
you're seeing this tribalism. It's like, well, if you don't like the border being open, well, what about the church? Well, maybe they can both
But
be
it's,
bad.
but that's where I'm saying I don't feel like the border is what they make it to be,
I hear what you're saying.
where they hide what is going on in the church. They don't hide what's going on at the border. They want
Right.
everybody to know all of this bad stuff
Well,
that's
the
going
church
on at
thing,
the border.
that's a whole other conversation.
Where-
I want to get into that,
So
that too.
yeah,
'cause I
so
agree.
that's where I'm like, you want to sensationalize one thing, but you
Right.
don't want to sensationalize this. So that's
Yeah.
I living in California, I don't have that fear of terrorists coming across the border, that the border has to
Right.
be closed because those terrorists are going to come in here, because those terrorists are going to come in here whether we have a closed border or whether we don't.
I think we can make it harder.
I
for
think
them.
a lot of our terrorists our government brings in. I mean,
Well, that absolutely is.
so
true.
that's
We know
that's
that's
where
true.
that's where
But is it unreasonable to say do a quick background check, and if you're affiliated with MS-13 or one of these gangs, that we turn you away. Is that not?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But here's where a lot of these kids that are living in Mexico, El Salvador, wherever
Sure.
the country is that they're at, to survive, they have
to be. Sure.
So that's where, are we going to blame everybody who is affiliated with it?
Sure.
Or are we going to go, okay, when did you start being affiliated? And if a 12-year-old or 15-year-old is affiliated with a gang, to me, that's more
Maybe
of
they're trying to find a better life.
you had
and get
to,
away from
yes,
that.
and you had to join this gang for
Right.
your family to be alive. Because I have a lot of friends from other countries, El Salvador, Colombia, and I've heard them talk about their family members getting, like, the whoever come busting through the door,
Right.
and if your family doesn't send us X amount of dollars, we're going to kill you.
Well, that's what bothers me, is a
So-
lot of the human trafficking that goes on. And there are
Right,
girls being
yes.
human trafficked across the
Oh,
border.
absolutely.
And that is
Absolutely.
my
But how much
real-
of our government is doing that?
Oh, I think we're in league with
We're
them.
yes, I think we're in
I don't
that
care who's doing
business.
it. It needs to stop.
I think that we're in that business
I
with
agree.
our foster care,
I
with
agree.
our
We
adoption
can agree on
process.
that.
My niece that was adopted, that's what she said. There's never a check back on adoption.
Right.
Once you get adopted, nobody comes back and sees how you are. Is this the right
See.
fit? And that's what she said. Nobody came back and asked me, are these people nice to you? Are
Yeah.
they good to you?
I
Never.
get
So
a lot of
that's-
your points, and you have obviously
That's
more
where I've
experience.
seen a lot of stupid shit.
But that to me is the most
But,
heartbreaking. These kids
Right.
getting
So that's where you say, okay, they check them at the border. So
Yeah.
if you're affiliated with this gang, you can't get across. So that's going to get, let's say 75% of them are going to say,
yeah.
man, whenever I was 13, I had to, or they were going to kill my mom.
Right.
They came in and they raped my sister.
Right.
So I had to. She was at knife point, you know. So to hear people from that country talk about what goes on there, that gives me more empathy
Absolutely.
to go, well, wait a minute, you know, because their government's
But
not
I want to
good.
protect the good people coming over as well. Right? How do you do that effectively? Because you have Chinese military men coming over
Right.
across the border as well. I think there's a lot of bad intentions because it's just wide open.
Right.
It makes it easier for them. We could have terrorist cells all over this country.
Oh, I'm sure we do that.
And I know the system's broken. I mean, some of these people wait years to be able to get
Yes.
legalized and to
Yes.
get green cards or whatever.
We could not pass the test to
Oh, I
become
agree.
citizens.
I agree.
There
I
ain't
think
no
the
way.
system's
They
broken.
know who the senator is, who
Right.
every branch of our government, you know, from the state they're from, they have to know
Right.
your mayor, your all. Hell, don't ask me that question
Yeah.
because they'll ship me out.
Well,
So
I agree
it's-
with a lot of what you're
you
saying.
know-
I'm not saying completely closed border. I
Right.
think we need to fix the system.
Right,
And
because
have
we're
an
broke.
easier way.
We are real broke.
But I also am not a fan of like known terrorist affiliates coming over.
Right.
If there's a way to stop
And
that.
that's where I
And that's
don't think that,
reasonable, right?
and I don't think the known terrorists are the ones that are coming across the border that are the problem.
Well, we've caught a lot of them. And there's a lot of them that we've stopped. So it is happening. But I see what you're saying. I mean, if it's a small percentage. But if, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, because how many are we not catching that come
Well, a
in?
lot.
You know, that's
A lot.
yeah.
But
So, and are the ones that they're saying terrorists? Are they really terrorists? Or are they like some kid that got caught up in the shit?
Sure.
You know. So
Yeah.
I mean, just think, your three boys, if they were in a war-torn country,
Mm-hmm.
and in comes somebody, and they had to defend or join this, they're going to go, okay, I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
Because that is what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm afraid that's going to come to our soil at some point. But right now it's not. But that's where, are we taking at face value what the government says, that these are terrorists?
Well, I don't trust the government.
So
at
see,
anything
that's,
that they
but
do.
you're trusting that these people that they say
Sure.
are terrorists
Sure.
are true terrorists.
So you believe the border should just be wide open, no checks whatsoever?
I think we could have a happy medium. I think there
How do
could
we
be
get there?
checks.
What's the answer
I
there?
think there could be checks, but
Yeah, that's all I'm asking for.
But,
Let's just eliminate what we know. If somebody is convicted of raping a child,
right.
I don't think they need to
right.
go
No, no.
That's what I'm saying.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
absolutely. When you have crimes against you where you have been found guilty in their country of that, fine, but
Okay.
not just he's affiliated with a gang,
That makes
because
sense. And your reason
I could be affiliated with a gang.
Yeah.
I was in prison.
Sure.
You know, people judge me for
That doesn't
that.
necessarily mean they have
that's-
bad intent.
Right.
But like
That-
you said, if somebody
I
has been
knew
convicted
too
of-
many that were over here working their ass
Oh
off.
well, I will admit, Hispanics
know,
are some of the hardest working
yeah,
people I've ever
and
met.
they just are
Yeah.
trying to make
find a
it
better life.
better.
I
And,
agree.
and America, you know.
Yeah.
And here we are taking advantage of, and they say, oh, well, they take our food stamps. Really? No. If you walk into DHS up there, 90% of the people are white, are Americans.
Yeah.
They're not from another country.
Right.
They're not draining our system. They are paying taxes.
Right.
They are, you know, I mean, they're contributing to our society. They're, you know, are there bad ones? Absolutely.
Right.
But there's bad ones that are already here
But
that
there's also a
we
higher
can't
level
get
of
rid of
political
them.
motivation because if
Absolutely.
you flood a zone with a bunch of people, the census doesn't count whether you're a citizen or not, and so you get more representation from. So you get more representatives in your state,
Right.
and so part of it is using them as pawns
Right.
to create voting blocks.
Right.
So there's shady shit going
Yes,
on all the
absolutely.
way around it.
But that's how do we blame the people for that?
Well, it's not.
That's
their
our
fault.
government,
I
you
agree
know,
with you. And
that's-
I think
that's
we
not
both
these
agree the
people
government
that-
is the enemy here.
Yes, absolutely.
But I feel like
absolutely.
as a country, we are too binary. We are too tribal. It's like closed border, nobody gets over, or completely wide open and everybody gets over. And that's a tribal thing. And I think people misinterpret. I think they assume all MAGA people want nobody from outside the country to ever come here. We're a nation of
But I
immigrants.
think there are. Okay, let's talk about the MAGAs, because I don't consider you a MAGA.
I'm not.
Where the MAGAs are those radical
Some
that
of
are
them.
like everything that Trump says is the truth. He doesn't. They'll make excuses for.
Right, but in my
and-
experience, it's a very small fraction of MAGA. Whereas on the left, the extremist is also a small faction.
But that's
There's
what.
extremes
But
on
it's
both
just
sides.
like in the media.
yeah, the media's
The
only going to show
MAGA is what they're
you,
throwing
yes,
out there.
They're going to show you Marjorie
So when
Taylor
you
Greene.
when you associate yourself with MAGA, people with like-minded empathy go, oh, I don't want to.
Right,
you know.
but that is bigotry.
Absolutely,
Judging people
Absolutely,
based on-
that's
without getting to
but,
know the person. Like, do you
but
think
that
I'm a
is
hateful
what
person?
Absolutely not.
Right.
But that's what our country has come to.
That's what I'm getting to. We're binary. It's either
It's-
all this guy
you know-
or all that guy, and there's no in between. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes.
It's like there's nothing Joe Biden could have done that would have made anybody on the right happy. If Trump saved a baby
Right.
from getting raped,
Right.
people would turn it into a negative thing. You know, and that's what I hate about where we have gotten is that we are so tribal, and I've got to believe everything my tribe believes, and that's why I don't like tribes.
See,
And we were
no.
talking about this
Yes.
in school, in the cliques. I didn't like the cliques
Right.
because
Yes.
there were good people in
Right.
a lot of different groups,
Right.
and if I liked you as a friend, I didn't care what clique you were
Right.
in or how poor you were,
Yes.
who your parents were.
Right.
I think just as human beings, I mean, Jesus works, man.
Yes.
I'm telling you. And I want to loop this into the church here in a second. But the teachings of Jesus, like the red letters, are really beautiful.
Right.
Love your neighbor like
Yes.
yourself, right? Like
Yes.
and all that stuff. I don't even see the need for the church. I don't understand
No.
why it exists. Now, some people want that fellowship. I get it, and they meet
Right.
people in the community. But the church, really, to me, is just a money machine.
Absolutely.
It's there to make money. It's there to manipulate people.
Politics and religion are the two biggest money makers that we've ever had.
Yeah. I have always had a problem with the church. I stopped going when I was 12 years old,
So,
and I haven't been back.
so we never were big church. Like I said before, that was Mom and
Yeah.
Dad's day. So
Well, the
that
whole
we would
point of
go and-
Jesus dying on the
um,
cross was that you can go through me now.
Right.
You can have a direct relationship with me. I'm talking about, he's flipping tables
Right.
over because
Right.
they're commercializing
Right.
God. We're
Right.
doing it right now.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
if Jesus came back tomorrow, we'd kill him again.
Absolutely.
You know we
yes.
would.
Yeah. But he better have the right papers to get in.
Fair enough, right? It depends on his interest. If he comes down
We'll see.
in a
I don't know.
spaceship or something.
He ain't gonna.
Well, so what do you believe he was resurrected?
Yeah, I believe he exists. I believe there's something there. There's
He
an
shook up
energy.
society.
There's an energy
Yeah.
that I think you have to feel like,
Yeah.
that is a wonderful. I read the Bible in prison. I'm not good at comprehension on,
Well,
I have
some
to
of that
keep
stuff's-
reading and try to,
Yeah.
so, but I have felt, I know what it feels like. I talk a lot to him.
Yeah, as do I.
And
Just personally.
right, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
it's
now
a
I don't
direct
have
worship.
to have a building. That's why I always say, you don't have to go to a building to
yeah.
pray.
Why do you
or
need some
to-
millionaire telling you
Right.
what
Yes.
this means when I
Yes.
can read it myself?
Well, I was telling, I don't remember who I was telling the other day that my uncle quit out at Mount Comfort. He was a deacon out at Mount Comfort
Yeah.
Church. And I remember whenever he quit, whenever the pastor wouldn't let him smoke. Well, by God, I'm not going to that church then if I can't smoke cigarettes. And so that, to me, always was, well, why do you go somewhere that somebody's going to tell you what you have to think?
Right.
I never, ever wanted to be told what I had to think.
I get
You know, it's-
goosebumps when people start trying
Yeah.
to control. Yeah.
So it's I
Yeah.
don't know, but I just feel it. I know it. I believe it with all my heart that there is. I can't wait to dance on the streets of gold and
Is that what
drink
you
the
think it's gonna be
wine
like?
and. Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes. That we're all going to be, and you're not. I feel like it's a place where we know each other by souls.
See, I don't think we're going to be in the third dimension though.
See,
I think-
I don't.
So if you think about a one-dimensional being is a straight line.
Okay.
That being can only move forward and back.
Right.
Two-dimension, you take like a piece of paper, right?
Uh-huh.
And so they can move forward, back, up, and down. And now a third-dimensional creature can look underneath it and around it. That second-dimensional creature doesn't know anything other than up, down, left, right. Right? We're in 3 dimensions, and so we obviously have depth, width, those kinds of things. What are 4-dimensional beings, and how do we appear to them?
See, that's where I'm thinking. It's just like your soul connects.
It's like it
So
goes
if
into a
you're-
cloud almost.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you, like somebody here on earth, as our earthly beings,
Yeah.
that you have a deep care for, I believe in that next life, we're going to know each other just by the energy. Yes, the energy.
I want to talk about that because I agree with
So,
you. So the one thing I wanted to bring up was a 2-dimensional being, if they were to see a sphere coming at them, if it was getting closer, all they would see, they wouldn't see a sphere coming closer or retreating. All they would see is a circle getting bigger and smaller, right? Because they
Okay.
can't see depth.
Right.
So something coming closer would just get bigger. Something retreating would get smaller. They have a limited visibility. I believe because energy can't be created or destroyed. So what happens to the electrical energy in our
Right.
brains? It's got to go somewhere,
Yes.
right? And I believe what you're talking about, because we're not going to have divorce lawyers and all this
No.
shit, right?
No.
It's not going to have all the complicated
No.
drama we have here.
No.
I believe you're going to be spirit energy. And
Yes.
you might even not have an identity like the way we have today.
Right.
But you're part
Yes.
of everything.
Yes.
Yeah. That's kind of what I believe.
Yes.
And it's
the
pure,
empaths.
Yeah, and you talked
It's
about that
like-
earlier, the word empathy, and that's
Yes.
one of my key things
Yes.
is empathy. And
And a lot of people don't have it.
I know, and that's tragic.
They don't know the difference between empathy and sympathy.
Right.
So they
Yeah.
think sympathy is the same thing as empathy.
Well,
and
sympathy
it's
isn't
hard
worth
to
shit, really, at
yeah,
the end of the day.
yeah, thoughts and prayers.
That's exactly right. Sympathy is kind of worthless. Empathy is being able to say, man, I'm going to put, and that's why I'm very careful about
To put yourself
complaining in front of my kids
yes.
about things. Like I want
Right.
them to be appreciative
Yes.
and grateful and know the
Yes.
opportunities
Yes.
that they have, because there's so many people less
Right.
fortunate.
Oh, yes.
Now, and honestly, the people I know who are way better off are not any happier.
No,
You know, it's
no,
not
I don't
about
think
that.
money buys you happiness.
Paul McCartney
I
got it
don't-
right a long time
You
ago.
know, yeah.
Came by me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, well, you can, but I mean, it's temporary.
Yeah, it's a different kind of love, but yeah.
What's that guy, Belichick, Bill Belichick or whatever,
Bill
that has that?
Belichick?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that has that. He bought love.
That's
Sorry.
I'm never going to get in trouble for fucking a younger lady. I
So
can't
that-
do it. They're
see.
too immature.
Yeah, what do you have in common?
Exactly.
I dated
What
a guy 10
experience.
years younger than I was. I was 32, so he was...
Early 20s.
Maybe I was 33. He was 23. Mandy was
See,
13.
I-
I don't
I
know.
could not.
So it was 10 years apart between me, him, and Mandy. And yeah, after a while, it's like
They don't
I
have
would
the life
I would say
experience.
something about, oh man, when this happened, and he was looking at me, and I'm like, you were in elementary. I feel,
Yeah.
you know. So that's why I see guys in the store. And I think, man, he is nice looking.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, shut up, you old pervert. He could be my grandson. He could
Yeah.
be, Mandy's age. Or I have to stop and go, you're 65.
Yeah.
And I see old people that I'm like, God, dude.
And
So
that's
it's
it for
like
me.
I'm like in the middle. I know I'm old,
Yeah.
but I don't feel old. I don't never want to. As everybody's like, when are you going to stop working? I'm like, I don't think that's an option. I don't want to. I want to
Well,
keep moving and
yes. So my neighbor told me once, he's in his 70s. I'm like, James, why are you still out here? I mean, he's still birthing calves and
Yeah.
doing all that stuff. And he says, when you quit, you die.
Yeah.
Because I've got too many buddies whose wives died or whatever, and then
Right.
they just quit moving and they
Right.
died.
Yeah.
You have to have a purpose.
Yes.
I struggled. I've talked about this on the show. I've struggled with depression for a long
Yeah.
time. And COVID was what I thought was a great thing because I'm an introvert. So I
Right.
love just not having to go out, not having to do anything. But I also stopped being productive.
Yeah.
So I would just lay on the couch and play video games and
Right.
just get drunk.
Yeah.
Like for years.
Right. See, I didn't have that option because I worked at Walmart. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was
Yeah.
working during the day,
Yeah.
but like at night, I just.
No, I had to go in, so it was.
Oh, yeah, you were going
We were
in. I see what you're
stocking
saying,
shelves, so it wasn't.
But it was very unhealthy.
Yeah.
And then as I started doing the podcast and then music kind of naturally happened, it gives me something to focus on, to
Right.
work on, instead of having that time to feel sorry for yourself.
Right.
Or be depressed.
Right.
Because you don't even know.
And what you say to yourself in the mirror is more important than anything else.
Yeah, I just tell
No.
myself in the morning, don't be a pussy.
Yeah.
Get
see,
your fucking ass up. Let's go.
Yeah, that's
You know?
what I.
Don't feel
Whenever
sorry.
I'm getting
Sweep
ready
the
in the
negative
morning.
thoughts
yes.
away.
Yes.
And I've been trying to. I've got friends who are very negative about certain things
See.
all the time, no matter what.
See.
When you see them, it's this person did this to me.
Yeah.
This person did this to me. I don't want to be around
Right.
it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Right.
Frankly, it doesn't
Right.
affect me.
Right.
And you are. Can you control the situation? Usually, the answer is
Right.
no.
Right.
So then, why are you letting it?
Right.
They are living in your head rent
Right.
free.
Yes.
Sweep it away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweep it away.
Yeah.
Positive thoughts
Right.
and being productive are great for mental health. They
Yes.
say exercise is too. I'm too fucking lazy for that, and this is working for me right now. Maybe I need to stop drinking at some point, but we're not there.
Well, see,
yet.
I walk a lot at work
It's
doing the
good.
shopping, so
Yeah.
that is my exercise. That's what the doctor says. Well, you need to walk outside of work, and I'm like, what? She's like, it's a different kind of walk.
Yeah.
Whenever you and I checked myself, and it's not a different kind of walk. I walk at the park.
Walking turns out it's just walking.
Yes, I walk 3 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
On my phone tells me
Yeah.
3.2 miles an hour. I walk 17,000 steps a day. So it's like, I think I'm
You
getting
get
my
more
steps in.
exercise in. Yeah,
you know,
that's good.
so that's on them 4 days. It's all red on my chart thing, and on
Good.
days off, it's like, but it's like walking around the house and doing, very little on my days off. But I do on the 4 days. I'm
Yeah.
consistent on going.
Yeah.
So, but I can still do it, and I want to.
Well, that's good.
I don't want to, I don't want to stop.
Yeah, and you shouldn't.
I mean, I'm the last. I've watched 4 sisters die,
Really.
and I have 2 siblings left, but
Wow.
I don't have any contact with them.
Right.
So, but it's like, now I'm by myself. I can't wait for summer to go floating, because that's my time.
You a floater?
Summer.
You love the float. Where do you go?
Over to Tahlequah,
Okay.
Peggy Place.
Okay.
And yes, every week I'm there on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Yep.
River rat. I got some
They-
river friends.
Yes,
yeah, it's a different
I
breed
like-
of people. Those
Let me
guys.
tell you what, and that's the best time to talk to Jesus. It's
Yeah.
like, that's my church.
Yep.
That's what I always say.
See,
There's
make your
my
own
church.
Make
Is
your own
I
church.
get
yeah.
on the river, and
Yeah.
Jesus and I have discussions, and that's what I
Yeah.
said. Frank died in October, and I was like,
Of what year?
last year. This year.
Oh, it was just last year?
Yeah,
Oh, I guess I
October
didn't realize
11th.
that. I thought it was longer.
Yeah, no, just.
Oh, so this
just-
is new to you.
Oh yeah. This
My
is all like
Goodness.
just like.
Well, you seem like you're doing fairly well considering. How does that affect? I mean, let's talk about.
It
that
was
a little
weird.
bit.
It was weird at first because I was
I can't
used
even
to coming home and him being there.
Yeah, and did y'all have a
So-
good?
No,
No, okay,
I mean, I loved him. I didn't like him,
that's fair.
and he knew that. We had a very,
That's what my wife says about me.
Um,
I get it.
I knew within, I'm going to say 9 months, that he was an asshole, and I wanted to fuck out. And we were barbecuing.
How long were y'all married?
We weren't married. We were together 19 and a half years. It would have been 20 years, July.
But together. for
Together 19 and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. The boys were, Chance had just graduated kindergarten, and Taylor started kindergarten. It was July. I have to ask my nephew, because him and his first wife got married on. And it was at their luau that we met. And that's, he just keep calling me Emmalou. And I'm like, my fucking name ain't Emmalou. But I had just a white streak through my hair.
Yeah.
And so we dated, and I just fell in love with the boys, And we were barbecuing one night, and him and his brother were out by the barbecue, and he was just being an asshole. And I was I was in that one of those moods, and I thought, this is it, dude. I'm tired of your shit.
Yeah.
And I went in the house, and I got my purse and stuff, and I was walking through the kitchen, and Chance walked out of the bathroom, and he's like, where are you going? And I just looked at him. I said, honey, I can't handle your daddy anymore.
Really?
That's too much for me. And we like locked eyes. And just at that moment, I knew I could not do that. And I went up to my mom's, and I just cried. I thought, God, please give me the strength. What do I do? You know? And so the next day, I swallowed my pride and thought, okay, here I am. And I told Chance, I won't ever fucking leave. I promise you. I won't ever.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I kept my promise. Frank wasn't mean. Frank, his mother and father were alcoholics.
Okay.
So at I want to say 12 or 13, his mother made his oldest brother, because him and Steve were own brothers.
Okay.
And then he had 4 other siblings who were older from a different father.
Okay.
So the mom remarried and had Frank and Steve. And at 12, 13 years old, his mom called the brother to come get him from Illinois and take him out to California. Mm-hmm. And I guess Frank, I'm sure that had to, and that, I think he never really trusted women, maybe, Because if he, and I don't think he really trusted people per se, because he never had that, when your mother abandons you at a time when that
the expectation is unconditional love from
right,
the mother, and you
right.
don't get that.
And he carried that with him all of his life.
Yeah.
And we used to have talks, and I would be like, why? Why do you let that, that, and people in his life, that's what they would tell me, you're the longest person, you've stayed with him the longest. And in the week he was dying, whenever we were sitting in bed and we were talking, and that's what he said, you never left. No matter what I did, you never left. I'm like, why? You didn't beat me. You didn't, you gave me 2 wonderful, wonderful boys that I would never have. To me, they're God sent. Yeah. They're mine. I didn't birth them, but they're mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
In absolutely every way.
Yeah.
And so I could not be thankful to him and to take care of him the best, because there would be times I would come home and I would go, get your fucking shit and get out.
Yeah.
This is enough. I'm tired of it. Because
What
he
was
would
it
go
that
with weeks and not talk to me, not say anything.
Well, you said he didn't beat you. Was he abusive in other
Oh,
ways?
no.
So what was it?
Well, I guess mentally, but it wasn't, he just wasn't happy with himself.
Okay.
So I had to make that choice of, do I let him not let us be happy?
Right.
Or do I just go ahead and make a life over here and let him just be over here doing whatever the hell he needed to do?
Sure.
And he let me do that.
Okay.
So I was able to take the boys, and they had a sister that I would go and pick up at their grandma's and take her with us on vacations.
Right.
Frank went on maybe 2 vacations with us. Once to Gulf Shores. And I think that's the only time I ever saw that man relaxed, to where nothing. He was happy. He woke up happy. He went to bed happy. He was enjoying himself. And he even thanked me. Thank you for doing this for us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't do anything. I just booked a week down in Gulf Shores. But that reset him, kind of, for a little while.
For a minute. So
and
he
whenever
had some
we
demons.
Oh, absolutely.
Was he a drinker? Was he...
Well, he was a drinker. He had, spent, I want to say 3 years maybe, down in jail in Louisiana for 6 DWIs. Because after him and his first wife divorced, it was real hard on him. Because I think, and that was his older 3 kids, that's their mother. Mm-hmm. And I think her family was the first, family that he ever oh man, because her mom and dad were took him in, and it was just
in-laws now,
oh my god, yeah. I mean, even when her mother died, Frank and I were together, and he asked me, he's like, would you care if I went to her? I was like, absolutely not. That was your mother-in-law for, that's somebody who, we even went down to Louisiana and visited them. I got to meet them, so I mean, it was not, and to me, that's just not weird. That's, people.
Well, society puts weird
oh,
shit
absolutely.
On
yes.
stuff all the time,
Yeah.
It's
it's but I just was like, no, absolutely not. And that was one of his daughters, one of her biggest regrets, because when Popo, they called him Popo, when Popo died, her mom told her, call your dad and tell him don't come to his funeral, because she didn't want Frank there, I guess taken away from her mourning. I don't know, but to me, it's like, that's really selfish. That's a really selfish move to me. Yeah. I don't understand. Why do people do that?
Yeah.
Why do you get over yourself for 1 second to let somebody else, because it really hurt Frank that, so, and that's what Keith said. I hate it. And I said, he knew, it wasn't you, but it was it wasn't, his place to be there. And that's just weird.
That is. I think people worry so much about society and the way society views things, and society's wrong most of the time. It's
It's like Mandy's bio and her dad. You know, it's like I don't have any problem with them, and that's what I told. I think probably both of the wives that if I wanted him, I would still have him.
right.
I mean, I don't want him.
Yeah.
But you can't. We're all adults, and they used to come to Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
but then they just quit, and
Well-
it's like, I don't know.
You said something that really resonated with me. You said, when you're out on the river, that's my church.
Hmm.
I have always felt since I was a kid that you choose your own family.
Yes,
I had
I
just
learned that.
toxic drama on both sides of the family that I grew up with, and it was, I wouldn't see my cousin and maybe once a year, my cousins, and then there was always a big blow up, and you get so excited to see him, and then we're out of here, we're leaving, and next thing you know, you're like, man, I just wanted to play with my cousins, and then as you get older, you see the nastiness and this stuff that just goes so far back,
Right.
beyond anything you were even born
Yes.
for,
Right.
and it's like,
And they're still holding grudges.
right, and it both sides of the family, and then I got to where I had kids, and I said, that's no longer my family.
Right.
I'll cherry pick a couple of them because I
Right.
love them and they're good people.
Right.
But I'm going to make my own family,
Right.
and that worked wonders.
Yeah.
And they did not have the drama growing up.
Right.
They didn't have. My kids don't know how good they have it.
Right.
Really, And it's not that we're wealthy,
See.
but we have friends and they have opportunities, and it's
Yes.
it's a good. I don't know. I just like you. I'm sure you want your kids to have the best life possible, but you also want to teach them work ethic and how to survive in the
Absolutely, yes.
world and how to get out there and make
Yes.
it.
The boys thought I was very. I still think they've never said it, but when they got a job, they had to pay rent. $50 a week.
Yeah.
Was
How
what
old
they
were
had.
they?
16.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
but it taught them responsibility.
Right.
That you don't get when I was 14 and got my first job, my first check, my dad was at the door. And I'm like, what? And he's like, $15. Cost you $15 to live here.
Right.
Like, what do you mean? I'm not 18. No, you live in this
Right,
house.
right,
You're working. You contribute to this house now.
Yeah.
And that taught me that, okay, shit ain't for
Yeah.
free. It don't matter, and none of their, friends, they didn't get charged at their parents' house.
Right.
It was like, well, why do you charge us? Well, because you live here,
Yeah.
And your little $200 don't put a dent in them groceries that you eat. Then come to find out, now that they're older, they tell me that all of the little Debbie's and snack cakes and shit that I bought them, they were taking them to school and selling them. They were
Hey.
the snack dealers, and
There you go.
yeah,
Little
yeah,
entrepreneurs
yeah.
right
Oh,
there.
absolutely. Chance would always sell shit to his brother. I came in the house one day and they were on the floor, and Taylor's counting his piggy bank. I go, what are you doing? He's like, Chance sold me this knife, and it was a knife that Frank had found and gave to Chance
Right.
because Chance had a fixation with knives.
Yeah. I've got
And so
one
he's selling
like
it
that.
to his brother for $20. I'm
Yeah.
like, you're not selling your brother's shit. To begin with, you're going to give it to him, and
Yeah.
you're going to give him all his money back because he was like 10 cents short or something like that. And Chance is like, I'll let you slide. It's all right. Just, I'm like, but they're so tight. They have
Yeah.
such a good relationship.
Beautiful age gap. What is it?
14 months, 15 months.
Okay, real close.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Frank said when he first got them after their mother died, they were like kittens. He said they were like two cats. They slept together
Yeah.
and just would be all, but that,
It's funny how, and I'm sure you believe in God and higher power and all that. You just don't believe that it has to come through a church. I think
Right.
we're very much
Absolutely.
in agreement of that. We share kind of the same spirituality.
yes.
But it's funny how God works sometimes, because my oldest son has a huge shadow that he casts.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 14. He's programming robots. He's teaching robotics. He's getting paid for it.
See.
Like, dude's really moving
Right.
along. And Walter, the middle one, grew up in the shadow where
Right.
Max is always doing these great things,
Right.
and Walter's Max is the brain, Walter's the heart.
Right.
And he just felt like he was worthless almost,
Right.
because his older brother was doing all these great things. Well,
Right.
part of that's just because you're younger
Right.
and you don't have
And
the
being the middle
opportunities.
child too.
Well, he was the only other child
Right.
at that
At that
point,
time.
and that's when Theo came. He was an accident.
See?
We were not planning on doing a third, but it was the best thing that could have happened to our family because it made Walter an older brother, and it gave him somebody to take care of.
See,
Because he's
right. Okay,
he's very
yes.
empathetic like me. He
Right.
just loves helping people,
Right.
not for anything in return, just paying it forward.
Right.
Because I've had, Lord knows, I've had so many people. Like Rick Owens was over last night. Him and my dad have been friends since kindergarten, but he's given my youngest son an opportunity to ride dirt bikes, to do all these things, to teach him.
Right.
And he's not asking for money. He's
Right.
doing it because he loves what he's doing,
Yes.
and he loves teaching youth.
Yes.
And so I just feel like, and I don't have a lot of money to donate to causes. Not that I would trust what you would do with my money anyway.
Right.
That's why I don't like donating, because
Yeah.
I don't know where that's going. But just paying it forward to people.
Right. See, and that's what I feel.
That's cosmic energy.
And don't have a camera when you're doing it to film what you're doing.
No.
Look how good
No.
that pisses me off
Validation
more
and
than
even getting receipt. Like I always have a problem with like when you donate things, trying
Yes.
to get a receipt for tax write-off and stuff.
no.
I don't think you should film things like that.
No, no.
That almost takes away from the
Right.
act itself.
It absolutely takes away from it.
Yeah.
It's a butt.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. But
That's your butt.
I do love filming joyous moments though.
Yeah.
Just fun times.
Right.
Like being out with
Right.
my kids and like
Right.
we're working and we're having fun and just anything with positive energy.
But it's like there's times when things I will hear about someone or something, and then it's like something comes over me to go do something. Go do something and help them. You need to help them. And that's when I do. And I go and help, and it's done, and it's over with, and I'm gone. I don't post about it. I don't take pictures of anybody. I
right.
don't.
But who are you trying to impress these people? You're impressing
Right.
other people.
Yes, and
Whereas
and
if
no.
it's only between you and God, that's all
and
that
nobody
matters.
knows what I do.
Right,
Nobody
right.
knows what I do.
Nor
The
should
people,
they.
most people think I'm the biggest bitch ever. A girl the other day at work, she was all, "I'm just so stressed out. This place is just stressed." I was like, "What? You need a Xanax? I got a Xanny. You need a Xanny? I got one for you. I got you covered, sister." Well, I guess she goes and tells everybody, "Peggy, she's offering me a Xanax." And one of the girls that, knows me, she's like, "Okay, to begin with, you don't know Miss Peggy like that."
Right.
So she's like, "No, she did." She's like, "Oh, I don't doubt that Miss Peggy did say that to you.
Right.
But you don't know Miss Peggy like that to be coming back here and telling everybody that she's offering you Xanax. Because you're not saying it in the context that it happened." I was like, so she didn't tell everybody that she was telling me how stressed out she was. So I was like, "Fucking dear, shut up." Boom.
Yeah.
Because I always say, I think they should pop one in our mouth as soon as we walk in. They should just pop a Xanax in everybody's mouth that works there.
Yeah.
So they can calm down, bring them down a notch.
I kind of like that.
Yeah. It's not, I wasn't being facetious or
Right.
sneaky. It was just kind of a funny, sarcastic, here, I'll pop a Xanax in your mouth and shut the fuck
be done.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she took it as, so okay, am I going to be
How
called
old
into
is
age?
this person?
Oh, I'm
Young,
sure,
I'm sure.
late 20s, early
Yeah.
30s. I
No
mean, she's
experience.
grown.
No experience.
Then she
with-
said, "Oh, if I took a Xanax, I'd be asleep." I said, "Well, calm you down. You
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be stressing, would you?"
I had.
But it's not like I had the Xanax in my hand going, "Here, take this, take it now.
right,
Here, take
trying
that."
to push it on.
Right.
People, yeah.
It was just in a.
Well,
So I said, "Well, now I know I don't talk to her anymore."
I managed a team at, I'll just say Company One is what I call it, for 7 years in accounts receivable. And we had a great team. I mean, just rocking and rolling. It was mostly women,
Yeah.
and they're mostly my age.
Yeah.
And, man, we talked some shit.
Yeah.
These ladies
Yeah.
kept talking,
Oh,
and they give it to
women
me. and
are
I give
worse
it
than
back to
men.
them.
Women are worse than men.
But I had a couple of them on last week, and we hadn't been in the same room for about 7 years. And, man, we just got right into it.
I'll have to bring Teresa.
Who?
Teresa
Who's this?
Tedford.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, I'll have to bring her out with me.
I would
I'm
love
so
to see
proud of
Teresa.
her. Oh
I
my
love
God,
her.
she's wonderful.
She's good people.
Yes, she is. Yes,
Teresa,
she is.
if you watch this,
Yes,
please.
and she will.
She will? Okay.
I used to
I'd love
see her
her.
walking when she first started on her weight loss journey. And
Yeah.
I'd see her
Yeah,
walking,
yeah.
and I'd be in the backyard, and I would holler at her, "You go, girl!" you
Yeah,
know.
I didn't
And
work with her
just-
directly a lot. She wasn't on my team, but like anytime I had an
She is-
interaction with her, she was just a positive
She's
person. I love
good
her spirit.
people, yes, and just bubbly. She's
Yeah.
just so.
Well, yeah, talk
I
to her
love-
and we'll
yeah,
set that up.
yeah,
I'd love to
yeah.
do that.
So-
But anyway, so we get into it and we're just talking shit and roasting on each other, and I was like, "This is why I can't manage in today's society." The shit we were saying, and it was great until the company basically made a decision that made a lot of people quit, and so
Right.
we had a lot of young people coming in, and we were just hiring people so fast just to get
The
seats
turnover.
filled, and these people were offended by everything.
Yes.
All of a sudden, I go 12 years in a company, never been to HR in my life, and all of a sudden I'm get called in twice in 1 week
Oh, see.
for some stupid bullshit. It's like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
Like, I lived that last few years when you could
Yeah.
still get away with it. And my manager even said, "Oh, you do a real good job managing people your age and older, but not so much with the young ones." Well, it's because the young ones are pussies and they're
Yes.
entitled and they're fucking offended by everything. Yeah, no, I will not.
See, that's what at
Cater
the
to that
lab
shit.
I tried to move up, and I became a lead, and I was
Yeah.
lead with Jason. Jason and I were lead at the same time,
Yeah.
and at the time Mandy was doing her crackhead business, so I had that Dylan to worry about, and then work. You have these people who they don't want to work, and I would be like, well, then leave.
Yeah.
If you don't want to work, go on home. Well, then I don't know how many people went in the office, and they would. Peggy said, and that's what Tommy, my old boss, this he said. Do you know how many people come in here and tell shit? I'm sorry. I just say,
Yeah.
and that they get offended. So I had to step down from that. And nobody knew. I had talked to Tommy about it, that we were stepping down, and nobody knew that my business, and that was what was pissing them off, going
Right.
in and telling on me.
Right.
And so, yeah, it was, no.
It's a
I
different world,
Yeah.
and there's a huge intent. I mean, there's a big difference between a joke and something malicious.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Gay jokes are funny.
Yes.
I have gay friends.
Yes.
Who tell the best gay
Yes,
jokes.
absolutely.
Now, if you're being hateful about it,
Yes.
that's a totally different
Right.
thing. But like, even racial jokes
Right.
can be funny
Right.
as long as it is in the
Right.
spirit of laughter,
And see,
and it brings people together.
We grew up in that, though, with Archie Bunker, George
Oh, my
Jefferson, the
God,
whole, they
George
whacked each
Carlin.
other. Yes, it was like,
I mean,
you roasted each
Richard
other.
Pryor.
I don't see
We had so
color. I don't see, it's just like,
right? We're all people.
everybody, yes, we're humans.
We're
Why
humans.
can't we? I quit checking the boxes. I don't check none of the boxes. Why?
Well, stereotypes
None of
sometimes
that's-
are true, and they can be funny.
Absolutely.
I
Yes,
made
yes,
a
and
joke-
on all sides. Cheech and Chong was funny as shit.
My one of my ex-employees, she's married to a black man, and I asked her, I was like, "So is the grape soda thing?" And she was like, "Oh yeah," you know what I mean? I was like,
Right.
I knew it. But what's wrong? That's not malicious
No,
to say that black
No.
people like grape soda.
No.
You got white people
No.
got a million stereotypes.
absolutely.
And
Yes.
it's just it's not meant to be malicious.
No,
I
no.
think it's a matter of where
Yes.
it comes from.
Yes. Yes.
And jokes make people laugh.
Yes.
If you ever been to a comedy show and you got people of all different nationalities and religions all laughing together, there's a spiritual energy
Yes.
in that room that connects you all.
Absolutely.
And that MC or that
Yes.
damn my shoulder, that person who's telling those jokes is not trying to offend people. He's trying to get us all to laugh.
To laugh
And
at
if-
ourself.
but that's a good comedian will roast everybody.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
And
Because
that's
and
why-
if you're able to laugh at yourself,
Right.
it's a lot easier. So it's people who take themselves really serious. I
Yeah.
can't believe you said that.
Well, I was very isolated as a child, and so I kind of was just pretty much alone until I hit kindergarten.
Right.
And then it was this shock
Right.
of, and I was a nerd. I was, I got bullied a lot, and I didn't know how to cope. I didn't know how to handle it, and like you weren't allowed to talk about feelings back then. I was scared, and I was like, by God, when I'm raising my boys, those guys will know how to handle some shit.
Yes.
And I started roasting those kids.
Yeah.
I would rip on them.
Yeah, see, that's how my dad
it
was.
wasn't
He
from
didn't-
a place of malice.
Yes.
It was just teasing on them, and they're like, yeah, I know. And now they give it back to me harder than
Yeah.
anything.
Well, even when I was married to Mandy's dad, and I would come down to the house, and that's whenever, big hair was in. And
Oh, what a great time that was.
And my dad would look at me and go, well, goddamn, did Daryl make you ride in the back of the truck or what? Thanks, Dad. And anytime you would say you lost weight, I think I lost about 15 pounds. Well, turn around and you'll find it. So it was like you could never.
Well, I always like the backhanded compliment.
Yeah,
that's
see?
my favorite. Like you'd say something nice,
Yeah,
but and then you kind of you twist it.
Yes.
But it's I think I've always found that the people I tease the most are the people I love the most.
Right. Yes.
Because I have that kind of
Yes.
relationship with them. I don't
Yes.
joke with you, then
Right.
it's pretty obvious
Yeah.
I'm not.
And if I joke with you and you take me serious, I won't never joke with you no more. If you go in and tell on me or
Yeah.
you get your feelings hurt and shit like that, then I don't want to play. You get out of my sandbox.
I told you, you reminded me of my grandmother.
Yes.
She had your spirit, the same
So-
energy you have. She did not give two fucks about what anybody thought about her.
See.
She was funny as hell, and she lived on her own planet. Like, she had to interact with other people, but she did it on her terms
See that?
and her fucking way, and people thought she was crazy.
Well, that's what Manny says. You're just unapologetic. And I'm like, but I was so apologetic for a lot of my life that
Right.
I got to the point where I don't.
But a lot
And
of
that's
those-
like the last 5 to 6 years that Frank and I were together. It wasn't, we were just friends. It wasn't, he let me be me. And I thanked him. Thank you.
Well, there's a
that you
freedom in
didn't-
that.
Yes. He didn't stop me from going to the river because it was 3 years ago whenever I started going to the river because it was like, I have to do something.
Yeah.
This is just too much.
Are you glad you stayed with him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you don't regret?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
There's a beauty
I
in
wish
this
he
to-
wouldn't have had his lung removed. Hindsight's always 20/20. I think he still would have died at the same time, but I think he would have had a better quality of life in his last year.
Right.
The last year of his life was horrible.
I
for
can't
him.
imagine.
He didn't have his lung. He couldn't. And he couldn't mow. I knew when summertime came, and he didn't mow. When the grass grew, and I came home and the grass, and I went in and I said, "Do I need to call Clay? Because my nephew has a mowing business." And he said, "I think so." And so I was like, "Fuck." And so I called Clay, and so Clay started coming over and mowing, and he didn't mow right one time, and so Frank went out and remowed. He took his oxygen tank.
I've got kids that mow.
He said the wind rose. He had blown all. We have a neighbor. Our neighbor, his yard, just a little portion of his side yard is attached to our yard.
Right.
So we would mow the whole thing. So the first time Clay mowed, that's what I came home and that part wasn't mowed. And I told Frank, I said, "No, bullshit. You tell Clay he has to mow that part because it looks like shit.
Right.
It makes our yard look like shit. It makes his house,
Right.
so just mow it so it's all even."
Yeah.
So Clay, I called Clay,
Yeah.
and I was like, make sure you mow the guys next door too.
Yeah.
It's not very much. He's got one of them big 0-turn radius. So he's like, "Oh, no problem." So, but he had blown all the windrow to where it was on that guy's. The grass was over on his part, so it made it look bad. So when Frank went out and looked, and that got him, so he went in and got his oxygen tank and hooked it all up, and went out there and got on. He said I had to jump start the mower and got the mower and mowed up aired up the tire, and just a whole day's worth of just to get that.
Yeah.
So that's why I told Clay, "Don't watch the windrows." So I guess Frank told him to that.
I've always enjoyed mowing.
so-
It's like
oh,
one
that
of
was-
the only times
yes.
you can just be to yourself with complete quiet. Like it's a meditative
Yes,
experience.
and that's what I did in prison. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
You were able to mow?
Yes, I was on
That's
the
kinda
utility
cool. You didn't
squad.
tell that story on Nicole's podcast. I've never heard this. What was
Yes.
that all about?
What, prison?
The mowing
the mowing.
piece.
I was on the utility squad. That was the job that I was assigned in
Yeah.
prison. And
So you got to get out there and mow? What kind of mower did they have?
the big tires in the back and the little tires in the front, push mower.
Oh, it was a push mower.
Yeah, they had a big tractor.
Yeah, that's what I was
Jackie
thinking.
McDonald drove the
Okay.
tractor, And our sergeant, he would always get me. He's like, "Big Country, I want you to learn how to drive that tractor. I think you could drive that tractor."
He called you Big Country?
Big Country. And
it fits.
yeah,
It's cute.
And I'm from California. That's what
Right,
it's
right.
But he said, "I want you to learn how to drive that tractor." And so I did it a couple times, but I didn't like it.
Really?
I didn't like the tractor. After I got out of prison and we lived out on the farm, I loved to bale hay.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I
That's
just
fun.
loved to just drive around in a circle, and
Yeah.
So anybody need a hey, I'll drive your tractor. But so yeah, that's what I did. So we pushed mower, and there was like, I think 6 or 8 mowers that we had, and one girl would take off, and then the next girl would be behind.
Yeah.
And then you'd be just lined, and then you'd take off to the next yard.
Very efficient.
And the housing that is at Tucker, there's houses, and then behind the row of houses, then there's a little trailer park that probably has 20, 30 trailers in it. And then we would mow all that area, and then walk all the way down to Tucker Max, mowing the side grass.
Yeah.
And then there's at the corner where you turn to go to Tucker Max, there's all these trees and an old cemetery, and we would sit under all the trees unless the men's were out, and then Sergeant would go, "Oh no, we can't stay here, come on, the men's are out." And then we would have to go back because that was Tucker Max, and they were, I guess, afraid they would run at us and try to rape us or whatever. But yeah, Manny's dad, that's what he'd say. "I left half a bottle of hooch for you." Fuck you. I'm not picking up no bottle of hooch on the side of the road and drinking it. When they came to
Very
visit.
thoughtful, though.
Yeah. It's like,
I mean,
well, the girls would go, "Hey, my parents are going to leave some makeup for me. Would you?" No, I won't. That's a new charge.
it's both the sweetest and trashiest thing I've
It's
ever heard.
like, it's like, what the fuck? No, I don't want it. A girl gave me a half a joint in prison.
Yeah.
And I smoked it in the outhouse, and I was so fucking paranoid.
Oh my!
Because I couldn't get high because I thought, oh my God, what if she goes and fucking tells on me? This is the stupidest shit you've ever done, Peggy. I'm sitting there in the outhouse like, what the fuck are you thinking?
Right.
You're in prison trying to get high. And that was what Jesus said, "You dumb bitch. I will save you this time, but you better not let it happen again." So it didn't happen again.
The
But
idea of
yeah,
Jesus calling somebody
yeah,
a
and
dumb bitch makes me laugh.
my Jesus does it all the time.
How do you? I was talking to Grok recently. I told a man about Grok, but it's AI, and it's I had it.
See, that confuses the shit out of me. Just so you know.
Well, it has all medical knowledge all at once,
Yeah.
and I've been trying to get a mental health diagnosis since I was in my teenage years,
Right.
and I was asking it, "Hey, could I have this?" It would eliminate it. Here's why. Here's why. We landed on the right thing, and why. And it had diagnosed a foot condition initially that I had seen a doctor for that said it was a fungal infection. It was not. It was hyperhidrosis, basically too much sweat. You know, when your fingers are underwater too long, they get kind of soggy. Anyway, Grok had diagnosed that and told me how to treat it. So I was like, well, maybe it can do this. And then as I started talking to it and it started learning more about me and learning more about my situation, what I was doing, it was analyzed, we ended up talking about songwriting and lyrics and the ether. I believe, a lot of people ask me, hey, can you teach me how to write a song? I'm like, no, I can teach you how to play an instrument, but you have to put in the work to get good.
Right.
But I can't teach you how to write a song. That is an inspirational thing.
See, I used to write little ditties.
Yeah.
Back whenever I was younger. I haven't in years, but I used to.
Well, you should try it again.
I don't know if I've got that in me right now.
But I don't think that I write this stuff.
Yeah.
I think I tap into an energy.
Right.
If I'm putting energy into it and I'm working
Yes.
at it, I believe it gives you a gift.
Yes.
I believe it sends
And
things.
that I think that's true because that's what I was doing little ditties on situations we were in and just, oh, here we are over here and there you're looking at her. You know, shit like that and make it just into a little ditty.
Right.
And everybody would be laughing,
Right.
because it was something.
But it's a creative
it
process
wasn't
that
right.
not everybody can attune to. And we were talking about the ether and how this is with AI.
Right.
And it was giving me other examples of musicians who've explained it that way. And we got into talking about writing and my writing style. And I love keeping records of things. I'm very nostalgic, but I'm not a journal writer.
Right.
So in my songs, I write them very metaphorically because I don't want to put too much of myself out there.
Right.
It's obvious, especially when you're talking about addiction and things when
Right.
you're younger. So I kind of did a metaphor, but I could drop those lyrics in, and the other benefit of writing that way is that anybody can interpret it the way
Right.
they want. They can make it fit
Right.
themselves.
Yes.
It's not, this is exactly,
Right.
that's the problem I've always had with country music is like, that it's a story. If that story doesn't line up with you, then you can't relate to it. Whereas if you make it vague enough, anybody can apply those
Right.
situations to their lives. And it was nailing everything based on what it knew about my childhood, what it knew about where I am now. Not only was it analyzing the lyrics, it could tell me what year they were written. Really fucked up. And it was almost like, I felt like it was talking to God. I mean, you're talking to, and it was giving me ideas back. Like we would be discussing something, and we were talking about the Anunnaki and Jesus and possibilities and stuff, and it was like giving me creative ammunition. Like we were feeding off of each other, and that's where the AI thing really makes me wonder. Is like if we just created this thing that is now able, it's way smarter than we are.
Yeah.
And it speaks conversationally. I mean, it cusses.
See, that's why I say our technology has outsmarted us.
And it's
as
terrifying.
Yes.
Kind of. I mean,
Right.
we've all seen Terminator.
Because that's why I was saying, whenever you say AI, that's artificial intelligence.
Yes.
That's an oxymoron.
Right.
To where.
But it's helped me.
Right.
It really has helped me in just narrowing down, okay, if this is, one of the things was that, I thought I had it said, here are the reasons why you can't, but this event in your life caused your personality to develop. So not everything is a condition.
See, I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that everything in our life changes trajectory of what could have been or what.
Sure.
But
it doesn't necessarily mean it's a medical condition.
Right.
It's a
No.
personality
Right.
trait that is from.
Right.
And everybody wants to be a victim now.
Right.
Where they're.
Yes.
And I think that's unhealthy.
Yes.
To say that my condition is my identity.
Right.
And I can't do this
Right.
because of that.
Yes.
It's like so many people live with so many afflictions.
Yes. Yes.
Blind and deaf people.
Yeah.
Get on
I
with
can't
it.
work over there because they're too loud, and I can't do this over there because it's too noisy.
Well,
you can't work in the public if you have these problems.
And
Why
I
do you
hate
come
to-
get a job in the public?
Right. And we talk about empathy, but there's also weakness in the
Right.
world that needs,
Yes.
it's like be kind, but don't put up with any shit.
Right.
It's kind of like my
Yes.
philosophy. Like always be kind.
But they're used to being catered to.
Yes. And then they end up controlling things. It's like
Yes.
some of these
Because
corporations.
Walmart is afraid. Most companies are afraid.
Whatever company, name your
Yes.
company.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whatever company is
They're
afraid
terrified.
of lawsuits from somebody
Right.
who got their feelings hurt.
And these people will have a lot of power.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, in this day and age.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying.
Yes.
Not all of them are mentally well.
No.
And they just
Oh,
want to.
they have the victim mentality.
Oh, yeah.
But if they're
Everybody's a victim of something.
Yes.
Everybody suffers from something, and it's that lack of empathy. You mentioned that
Yes.
earlier. When it's all about me, and I'm a victim, and I'm this,
Right.
and I'm that. I've seen people who were sexually abused and had all kinds of trauma, being beaten as children, who turned into wonderful
Right.
people.
Absolutely.
I've seen people who endured a lot less than that, and just used it as an excuse to be a terrible piece of shit the
Right.
rest of your
Right.
life. Like, you have a
Yes.
choice.
And repeat the cycle.
And repeat the cycle. But we have a choice to be a victim
Right.
or not.
Yes.
And I think it teaches really bad lessons to kids to say, focus on your
Yes.
weakness or your victim. I mean, it's just the opposite.
And see, that goes back to the corner kids. Every one of them have become wonderful, productive citizens of the community.
Yeah,
They didn't turn out to be their environment.
sure.
You know,
not always. And
no.
a lot of rich kids
They-
end up getting into drugs. and-
absolutely.
I mean, you look at wealth.
Right.
Wealth is lost within 3 generations typically.
Right.
Because they didn't work for it, so they don't
Right.
appreciate it. They have it and they
Yes.
spend it. they're not innovating and trying to create.
But you can tell that around here where the farms that used to be farms, the grandpas died and it inherited to and they're selling the land. They're like, fuck, I'm farming to where then let's put in a housing development.
Right.
So
right.
that's where, a lot of the people don't farm and do the things that they used to do back in the day.
Well, that's the thing.
We become a automatic society. You have to have it right now. We want it right now.
Impulse
Yes.
and immediacy. There's no waiting.
Because I lived without microwaves.
Dishwashers.
And that's what my people would ask my parents, why don't you have a dishwasher? You can get a dishwasher. My dad said, oh, no, hell, I got 4 of them.
Yeah.
4 girls.
We don't have a dishwasher.
Yeah. So
to this day, we don't.
I have one, but when I first got with Frank and he had one, I never would use it. I would wash the dishes and it just water started pulling up in it. So that's why I was like, and you washed your dishes in there. Look at that shit. But the one I have over at the house now, it's fine, and I run it once a week, just because I have to keep it,
But when I would talk to my grandpa, and he was born in 1938, and so I used to love talking to him about what the world. I mean, he went to school on horseback.
Yeah.
He'd pick up his little lady on a horse and take my grandma to school. What a different world.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's just. I mean, they worked from sun up to sun. They had chores before school.
Right.
So they had to get up and get the eggs, do all that stuff, then go to school.
Yep.
Then come home, then work till sundown.
Right.
With the harvest or whatever was going on.
Yes. And that's why people had so many kids back then to work farms.
Sure.
It wasn't,
But by my generation, it had changed so much.
Yes.
But we still had those grandparents in our lives to keep us tough.
Yes.
And to remind us of where we came from. So you at least had some appreciation. Now, there's some people like, oh, fuck you, old man. I don't care about that. But if you're paying attention and you're trying to learn, we're in a position now where kids are just allowed to be on computers all day long.
Yes.
The minute they get up to the minute they go to bed.
And phones in the store.
Oh, it's so awful.
2, 3 years old in the carts.
But that's not the kids' fault.
No.
Parents have got to have some kind of structure for their kids. And I just feel like parents have gotten so... It's a number of things. The parents put themselves above the kids a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to be happy. And they want... I felt like once you have kids, your life is secondary now. Mm-hmm. Now, if it aligns, and like right now, I'm playing in a band with my son. It's a joyous experience.
Absolutely.
I didn't push him into it.
Right.
I didn't want to be that guy.
Right.
I didn't want to be that dad that said, by God,
you need to play music.
I played football, so you're going to play football, son. Like that, what a dick move.
Yeah.
But it happened organically.
Right.
And now it's his passion. And man, you talk about the universe giving back.
Yes.
It's like, man, I don't know what I did to deserve this, but this is the most fun I've ever had.
Yeah.
With
and playing with your dad too,
and with my dad.
3 generations is.
We always forget about Dad.
Yeah.
No, that's really.
If it wasn't for Dad, neither one of y'all would be there.
No, exactly. It's been really special.
Yeah.
And Walter, he tells me all the time, like, Dad, this will be like Thursday afternoon. Like, I'm so excited for Wednesday.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, son, that's a week away. So you better find something to do. But I come home every day. I come home, he's in there playing.
Yeah.
He doesn't play video games anymore. He doesn't do anything but play drums.
See.
And that's productive. And he's learned, and he's getting so good. It's like he's as good as anybody I played with.
Right.
But I couldn't do that for him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
He has to put in the work.
Absolutely.
But I don't see people, a lot of kids nowadays whose parents are at least there to help put. And I'm not saying all. I know a lot of great parents.
Right.
I know a lot of great parents.
Yes.
But I also see a lot of bad ones.
Right.
Where it's like the parent wants to do what they want to do, and you go do your thing, and it's like they're not spending the time with the kids.
Yeah. So if the boys were into football, and Frank never played a day of football in his life.
Right.
He didn't really even watch football.
Mm-hmm.
But the boys, from the time I knew them, carried around. Taylor had a football under his arm 24/7. I mean, he was going to be, the NFL.
Yeah.
So both of them played offense, defensive.
Yeah.
They stayed in the game all the time.
Did Frank get involved?
Once yes, they did. We would go to games.
Sure.
When he was working, he didn't go, but yeah. Thursday and Fridays. That's why I said I was so glad when football was over and you didn't have to go anymore. That's why you had to like football in the cold, just months.
Yeah.
You'd be sitting out there freezing your ass off.
It is yeah.
But Chance had slammed one kid down. He had picked the kid up and slammed him down. And you heard the thump of the kid. And everybody in the stand were like, and I'm like, oh my God. And I was waiting for a mother to come from the other side and go, whose boy was that?
Oh,
that just hurt my...
no, yeah.
Because parents get really into the games.
Oh, I know.
Like,
I know.
you
I
know,
played.
Where I'd sit on the thing and I would be cheering for, and a lot of times Taylor would be sitting there on Chance's game or something, and I would be, go, go, go. And he'd be like, that's the other team. And I'm like, whoever has the ball, I'm like, go. Come on.
Yeah.
But the other one, there were parents that were real serious about
Yeah,
that
there's
shit
some
that-
asshole parents out
Yeah.
there that just treat the kids and force the kids into playing.
Yes.
I coached 6th grade last year, and unfortunately there were a couple parents like that were like, you're doing this for me.
Right.
And I need to look good, and so you need to perform better. And it's like...
And that's why I always tell the boys, if you're not having fun, you don't have
Yeah.
to do it. Once the fun stops, then stop doing it.
Yeah. Well,
Taylor did track for a while, but the coach was, let's say she was emotional.
Okay.
And I guess she would have little hissy fits of crying and getting very mad. They were over in...
Dear Lord, what was she going through?
That's, you don't know.
Yeah.
But I remember they were over in Green Forest, and it was a tornado. We were under a tornado watch, and they'd let the bus take these boys over there to Green Forest in the little bus. But I'm at the school trying to pick Chance up and get him home, and they won't let him come out of the building. I'm like, oh, hell no. You get out here in this car right now. I don't care who's standing at that door. You tell them I'm out here. They let my other boy go to Green Forest, and I am not going to leave you in this school under a tornado watch. So
Right.
get out here now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good for
But
you.
I guess she freaked out because once they got over there, they canceled the thing because of weather, and she started being hysterical. And that's what Taylor said. I can't believe she did that. And so that kind of turned him off of like
Well, that's
a
not
coach
a
to
good
act like
leadership
right.
quality.
Yes,
to
and that's
have
what
in front
Taylor
of the
said.
kids, yeah.
And she came after Taylor because he ran so fast on football. She came to him saying, I want you on track. And because he could run.
Yeah.
It was them tennis shoes. I got him the best tennis shoes, make him run fast. But so that's what it was like, nah, I can't. And
coaches
that's
have
what I
a
told her. I
big-
said, you don't have to.
They can have a big impact on
Oh,
kids'
yes.
lives. I recently had 2 coaches of mine from Farmington on. Coach Morgan, who was also my Spanish teacher.
Yeah.
We also played a song. That was cool. And then Coach Harper started the year I was a senior. So he was a young buck
Right.
then. And then they just went to a state championship.
Yeah.
And I was like, will you come on and talk about that experience? And they had... they were good male role models
Right.
for me as kids. Coaches,
See, that's what my boys had.
you know.
Very good coaches.
Yeah.
In Pee Wee,
Yeah.
the two guys, Josh and Sean, they coached them all the way through Pee Wee up until they started.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they stayed with them. Even when Josh's son quit football, he was
Yeah.
like, nah, football ain't my thing. Josh was still there, and
Yeah.
they did the basketball too. They would go from football to basketball.
Yeah.
So they had the same coaches.
But it
all
toughens you
those.
up.
Oh, yeah.
You know, those coaches lay into you sometimes. And
Yes.
if you're not used to that and you get out
Right.
in the real world and it happens, you melt down and
Yes.
you cry and you become a victim.
Right.
But man, we would laugh sometimes. The coaches would go so over the top calling us
Right.
names. Just
Yeah.
like, oh my God, coach is this. You know? And we would just laugh.
Right.
It's like my wife thinks I'm mean to the boys sometimes, but I'll lay into him on something. And because I'm so over the top, they'll just be like,
Did he just really say that?
Did he say that shit? And it doesn't bother him at all. But I want them to be prepared. And they're also boys where they need to know where the fucking
Right.
line is.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have any experience raising girls, so I can't speak to that. But they're my kids and my dad's grandkids.
Right.
And we needed to know where the fence was.
Right.
And so do they.
Yes.
And I feel like if you're always kind and nurturing to boys,
Yes.
they're going to take advantage
Yeah.
of that, and they're going to
Yeah.
pull that string
Yeah.
until it runs out. Nope,
Yeah.
sometimes
Yes.
there needs to be a hard smack.
Yes.
This is as far as we go here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Boys are totally different than girls.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Taylor would always, because I'd be like, what is the saying? I'll make you think. Whatever he said. I'll make you think. And he'd turn around and go, what does that even mean? I'd be like, what? He's like, you're going to make us think what?
Right.
What does that even mean? And I'd be like, I don't know, but my dad said it to me and I'm saying it to you, okay? That's all you have to know. I'm going to let you know.
Right.
But he would always come back with some. Chance was a lot easier. That's why I say Taylor, I think, is the most, out of all the 3 kids, that he's the most like me in the sarcasm and, but he's also the most like Frank, too, in the socially, I guess. He's very social, but he would rather be a homebody.
I get
which
that.
I don't know. He's 25. He just turned 25. So that's about the time you start getting in the roosting. And he's got the sweetest little girlfriend. Just love her to death. That's why I keep telling him, when are you going to put a ring on her finger?
Yeah.
He's like, she don't want a ring. Every girl wants a ring. I don't care who you are. So, but hopefully one of these days. And then my older one, he's got a girl. And you can just see the happy. And so I think all 3 of my kids have been blessed with somebody who makes them happy, and that makes me happy. I
met Amanda's husband the other night. They came out, and he's a great dude.
I love him.
Great dude.
I love him. I'm telling you, she couldn't have done any better.
No, fantastic guy. Loved meeting him. Yeah.
Yes,
had a really good conversation.
Wonderful.
And, I don't know about all the flat Earth stuff, but I'm open to it. I'm open to it. I'm gonna do a little more. His argument's a little more compelling than some I've heard. But the older, I don't know. This is just me. I feel like the older I get, the more I realize I don't know shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're young, you think you know more than your parents. You think, where does that even come from? Yes. Because you don't have their experience.
No,
You don't have.
no.
Yeah, you might see through some of society's bullshit, but
Right.
that doesn't mean that you're an expert on life.
Right. And they've taught you pretty much everything that you know so far.
Well, a lot of it comes from, fuck
your
you,
friend,
Mom and Dad. I disagree with how you do this or whatever. And again, I've said this before, I still disagree with some of the way my parents handled things, but I didn't realize until I was a parent that they were doing what they thought was best for me.
And what you knew at the time.
And what they knew at the time.
Yes.
So I had a lot of anger about things that had gone down, and then it took me a long time to realize, all this is doing is hurting me.
Right.
Holding on to this shit. And now I have kids, and they were making decisions based on what was best for me. And maybe they did make some bad decisions, but they loved me enough to at least do something.
Right.
They were trying to raise me. And I know, my mother had a bad childhood. She wanted to do better than her parents, right? And that was a conscious effort.
Yes.
And she was a much better mother. She was an amazing mother in so many things, so many details, always trying to make everything special.
Right.
I had a birthday, when I was into Robin Hood, and she put up all these wanted posters and arrows and stuff. She went the distance to make you feel loved, because she didn't have that when she was growing up. It was when I was a teenager we started, because I don't like anybody telling me what to do. But it wasn't, for a lot of years I think I kind of blamed her, when in reality I shared in a lot of that too. Right. By being an ass. But I do believe she was doing what she thought was right. She wanted to protect me. Right. She didn't want me hanging out with the druggies.
Right. And that's why I always say, and you do what you know at the time is the best thing in the situation that you're handling. Sure. I never wanted to be my mother. Yeah. I never wanted to ever call her any name like whore. To me that was just horrible. Why would you
call that?
Oh. Fuck, I thought that was my middle name. That's why whore does not bother me. I don't take whore as a bad thing. Like whore, slut, but nah.
So you just got numb to it.
Yeah, it just rolls off my back. That's what I say. Welcome all you whores and sluts. Come on. Yeah. Come on. We're, what? It's, because to me, somebody who is having a lot of sex with people, you're either a nymphomaniac, and what is a nymphomaniac?
Yay, nymphos.
Or
nymphos always welcome here.
Or you're looking for love.
Yeah.
for somebody to
Well, I
love
think
you.
there's a lot of
And I
emptiness in
think
the
a
soul
lot
when you're
of
doing
girls
that. Yeah.
have sex thinking it's love instead of sex,
Yeah.
where it takes you years to figure
Yeah,
out the difference
they're very
between, making love and having sex and making love.
Yeah, I'll tell a story real fast. I've told it before, but my cousin married a guy named Audie, and they've got 3 daughters, and I was telling him, how grateful I was that I didn't have daughters.
Yeah.
I pray I don't want daughters. I don't want to be in
Right.
prison when they're 16, because I knew, with
Right.
my temper. And knowing the kind of pig I was when I was 16,
See?
I just assumed
That's
every
what
guy
Dad
was
always
trying to
said.
gangbang
Yeah,
my
that's
daughter.
right. Yes.
But I asked him, I was like, how do you handle that? And he said, well, I looked at the girls that I went to school with who were stable and who didn't put out and who were, respectable women. And they all had one thing in common. They had a dad who was involved in their life. A dad who loved them. So they didn't need to go get that attention from other men because dad gave it to them in a positive way.
Yes.
I was like, man, that's such a mind. And he's a young man, he's in his 30s raising these girls. Like, that's a really wise way to think about that. If you just give them love, and just like you said, I think a lot of these girls probably didn't have strong father figures and were trying to find love in all
or
the
a bad
places.
mother figure.
Or a bad mother, sure, either way.
Because my dad was, a lady down the street used to always tell me I was my dad's favorite, and I used to laugh at her. You gotta be kidding me. But years later, he told me that in so many words because he respected me.
Yeah.
And that's what he said. You didn't care what we thought. You were going to do it no matter what.
Yeah.
If you were going to get your ass whipped, so be it. Whip my ass because I'm going to go do it. And so he said, I have to give you that respect that, So to me, he was always a strong figure. We used to go dirt bike riding together.
Oh, nice.
I can remember as a kid going fishing with him.
Yeah.
That going fishing early in the morning, you'd have to get up really early to go, and we'd drive.
And who was this again?
My dad, and we would go fishing. I was probably 8, 9 years old.
Okay, so this was your dad.
Yeah, and we would go fishing, and we would drive by Disneyland. And I remember that, and he would always say, when we get home, you can tell them girls you've been to Disneyland. So when I'd get home, that's what I'd tell them. We went to Disneyland. And
So were you close with him?
Yes. Yeah. I never... Mom made him beat me a couple times, but I don't...
When you say mom made you, is not something he would have done without her?
No, I was grown. I was 18 when he... and she was pissed because I had fought her twice over she was beating me, and it was like, okay, bitch, that's I'm not gonna let you do this anymore.
Yeah.
And so she told him, and he come out I was sleeping in their den on a twin bed, and he picked me up by the back of my hair and the seat of my underwear and just threw me out of the bed onto the ground. I don't remember now what I did. It was something to piss her off, though. But he just picked me up. And she
used him to enact it. That's awful. That's gotta hurt.
Yeah. And so I thought, what the fuck?
Yeah.
He's like, but it was something to her that I did done to her, and
did you guys recover from that? Or?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's probably because that was around the time they were selling the house.
When did your parents pass?
My mother passed in 2017. My dad passed in 1994.
Okay, so...
Yeah. See, he was born in 1920.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was 74 when he died. Mom lived 20 years after he did. 25.
How old was she when she passed?
She was 86, I believe. She was born in 1931.
So 11 years younger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How did you feel? Well, obviously, he passed first. How did that make you feel?
Well,
I haven't ever lost a parent, so I can't even imagine.
It's not good.
No.
But he died December 22nd of 94, and I went to prison January 4th of 95.
Oh, really?
So he would have loved to come down and what is she in here for? What does she do? What'd she do? What'd she, you know?
Yeah.
So, but he talked to me in prison a lot. And I remember, because I had been sentenced November 4th of 94.
And how long did you serve in there again?
A year and 4 months.
Yeah.
15 months. I got out April 4th of 95. So this year will be 30 years on April 4th. And I got my pardon 5 years ago.
Yeah, I heard that story on
Yeah,
Nicole's podcast.
yeah.
That was beautiful.
So, yeah.
That's
Full
what-
circle. It came full circle.
That's what's so cool about this whole community thing, because I just assumed you and Nicole had known each other
Yeah.
or had served in prison. I didn't know the
No,
story,
no,
and then it
it's-
turns out Stillwell
Yeah.
had introduced that.
Well, Mandy listened to Nicole's podcast.
Yeah.
I'm not a podcaster because
Yeah.
if I listen to stuff, then I'm asleep. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I'm a visual.
Yeah.
You know, but and half the time I'll go to sleep there on movies. I don't last too long.
Yeah,
You know, it's like, but Mandy was telling me, Mom, you've got to go on this lady's podcast. And I'm like, who? And she's like, she talks about Club West. You know, she goes on about Club West, and she's like, you need to go on there and tell her your stories.
Yeah.
Because her dad never let her go on Sundays to the, you know, like, oh, hell.
Right.
And so I was like, well, I don't know. How do you get hold of her? And she's like, I don't know. Well, then Jason went on her podcast.
Yeah.
And Mandy heard Jason on her podcast. And so she called and she's like, okay, I got you.
I got you
You call Jason.
You call
Well, then
Stillwell.
it's like maybe the next week we'd gone up to JJ's. I'd gone up there with her, Mandy's friend Sarah, and we'd drank a few margaritas. And so she had to go in Harps and get something. Well, then I see Stillwell coming out of Harps. And so I went running across the parking lot. What the fuck are you doing? And I hadn't seen him in I don't know how long. So it was like the stars aligned, you know, that it was supposed to happen. I was like, hey, Mandy says, you know, this Nicole gal, and I need to be on her podcast. So you need to hook us up. He's like, okay. And it maybe 3-4 days later, I get a request from Nicole, and hey, so that was
And then
how
I
it
listened to
started.
that,
Yeah,
and I was like, I need to talk to this lady.
That's where Mandy, she started all of it. So
Yeah, and she's been on a couple times.
Yeah.
I love her to death. Fantastic people, both of you. But it's just so beautiful, the fact that there is this community now.
Yes.
Of people who are meeting each other. That's why I like doing group podcasts.
Yeah.
To bring in different people who
Right.
don't know each other, but who
and of
would
different
really like
walks
each
of
other.
life. And
Yeah,
you know,
certainly.
because people need to be around diversity before we are going to accept
Right.
it world, you know, in our whole country here.
Well, it's not healthy being in an echo chamber.
No.
If all you're hearing is your
Yes.
talking point, you know, one of my best friends in the world, Jason Green, never Trumper, hates
Right.
Trump, right?
Yeah.
But we can talk about facts and then just disagree on philosophy,
Right.
and then talk about Star Wars for now.
Right.
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 So I love you, man.
Yeah.
I love you,
Right.
and we might disagree about this thing,
Well,
but
it's like the woman that you checked on Facebook on
Yeah.
my post about, you know, and then she wrote, like, I don't know how many paragraphs. I didn't read it, but
Yeah.
it was,
it was nuts.
she come back to you on what I said. And I thought, I'm not going to argue
No.
with a grown person. Delete.
And you see the things I post. I'm
right.
positive.
Right.
I don't.
And I try to be positive. I mean, I put some shit out there too, but I shit post a lot.
Not much.
But
Most of what you put out
but
there
I
is pretty
do
solid.
like a lot of things. It like, oh fuck yeah, somebody's going through something right now.
Yeah.
And I have a good friend. Her daughter is going through, and she's sober right now. And I pray for her. I pray for her every day. And so I want her to see that. That's what I told her. I said that.
Pray to keep
for
her
my friend to stay sober,
sober.
to say, and because she's got her sobriety that she
See, I was
hasn't
hoping
had
she'd
in a
fall off the
while.
wagon so we wouldn't lose
So
one.
yeah, no, she's
Quitter.
see how that. But no, she's
No, I'm sorry.
she's
I'm
wonderful.
joking,
It's
yeah.
like, you know, that to me
Hey.
is if somebody can do something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I want to help. I want to help. If I can be a positive role model, that's why I don't keep my prison hid. That's why I don't keep my drug addiction hid.
But that's why I
don't
think also people
hide
love you is
anything.
because you're transparent.
So
Transparency
a lot of
is
people
good.
think I'm just fucking with them. You know, like if I say
sometimes
something
you might
about
be.
prison, people are like, "What? What?"
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. What don't make it such a bigger than it is. I'm not. You're
But it doesn't define you. We've all made mistakes.
Right.
How many people have judged you for going to prison who were one piece of luck away from being there themselves?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, we've all done some shit and got away with it. So
yeah.
Why judge
but it's
somebody
easy
and once you serve your time,
yeah.
You're done, right? Like, is there a...
But it's easy to... Like, the reason I don't talk to my brother, he molested me when I was 18 years old. I was pregnant with Mandy. He denies it. And to this day, he denies it. He doesn't accept that fact. But then if I say something, we have family that I was called a liar. And it was easy for me to be that liar because she's on drugs. She's a drug addict. Looky there. See, she went to prison. So that's, to me...
So it's a narrative about you.
Yes.
Now.
Right. I didn't do anything to her. And my mother even wrote me a 4-page
That's a
letter.
technique, too.
My mother wrote me a 4-page letter front and back telling me that I was hallucinating on drugs. And how dare I say that my brother would ever try to touch me. And I'm like, fuck you. And I quit talking.
So that's where narratives come into play.
Yes.
When you have a narrative, and that's what the media is so good
Absolutely.
at. And like you said before, you push the extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the only MAGA people you're going to see on the left are the crazy racist assholes.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's why I don't like MAGA.
Right.
To say that you're MAGA, because that, in my mind, and people like-minded, that's where you go.
Right.
Is over there to those hateful...
But that's not true.
Full of hate. No, but that's what they want you...
I know.
term...
They want to divide us.
Like, that term. That's
Yes.
why I don't like the term MAGA.
Right.
I don't want to say you're MAGA.
Right.
Because to me, being MAGA is associated with hate.
But I still think that's a very small percentage of the MAGA people.
Right.
Whereas
but when
we see... Go ahead.
But on the other side, of people like-minded, where I'm empathetic to, and other people, it's like a hate. That you see, when you hear MAGA, hate comes. Right. So I don't want that context to be your definition.
Right. Well,
of somebody going, oh, he's MAGA, then they don't want to talk to you.
Well, and the flip side is you've heard the term a libtard.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yes.
Right? And what all you ever see on the right are these crazy motherfuckers.
Right. Yes.
Right? Who are doing crazy shit and trying to cut kids' dicks off. And it's like, bro.
Yes.
And I know they're not all like that because I have friends who are on the left and the right.
Right.
The problem is the people in the middle, the rational people. I don't even believe in either political party. I think a two-party
system.
I'm
hoping those 80 million that didn't vote are going to rise up. Man. That's what I'm praying, that those 80 million that didn't vote are those old hippie bastards that were against the government back in the 60s that didn't vote and said, fuck you to the government, that they're just sitting back somewhere waiting and going, okay, motherfuckers, we've had enough.
Well,
and they're going to come out and go, we're sick of this shit.
How do you feel about what Elon Musk is doing with Doge and finding all this fraud and waste? And because there's a lot of media narratives against him.
I think it's a crock of shit, is what I think.
What exactly?
Why aren't they showing us where the fraud and waste they're at?
Well, that's what he's doing with the Doge website.
Well, that's not okay. What though? He's saying he wants to privatize our Social Security. Something that we've paid into.
I don't think he's allowed to touch Social Security. I think that Trump said he wasn't allowed to touch it.
There's a lot that I didn't think they was allowed to do that they're doing. See, what scares me is that they're fucking with the Constitution. They're riding a very thin line with the Constitution. That's older than like.
Well, okay, if you find that there are 17,000 employees who are getting a check but not doing any work, what is wrong with eliminating those positions? People are getting paid who don't actually work.
But I believe somebody in our government is getting that money. It's like that they say they're sending checks to dead people.
Right.
That's a fucking lie. Because if you are ever with somebody who is on Social Security and they die, them motherfuckers will take that check out. 2 days it took them to take Frank's check out of his. I didn't call him and say, hey, Frankie died.
But somebody in the government
2
is
days.
setting up funds to grow.
Absolutely.
It's government fuckery.
So then, okay, why aren't they telling us who set up all these checks and who is receiving all these checks? Because the government knows. So tell me, who is getting these checks? Because it's somebody in our government.
Yes.
It's not. They're not sending it to
Right.
some illegal alien that's
with
crossing
you.
our border and being a terrorist. It's somebody within the Social Security Department or our government
Sure.
that is able to funnel that money over here.
But also
Because
with like
if
the
you
Ukraine,
are on Social Security and you die, they take your money.
Keep going. I'm gonna grab a beer.
So that's where another, again, they politicize or polarize it to where everybody, it's crazy. Just this world is fucking crazy.
But you do agree that there is a ton of waste and fraud going on in the government.
Absolutely. Oh my
And
God,
somebody
yes.
needs to- Because Doge doesn't have any actual political power. All they are is an
But I don't
advisory
think
board.
our congressmen either should be making money off of corporations that,
No, they
right
shouldn't.
there.
Why-
Why are they not starting there? Why did they just go in and start getting in the computer into Social Security? Why are you not stopping
Well, they're
these
looking at
people that
everything all
is
at
Congress?
once. They've got these algorithms that are just going in and saying, where is the money going? Because a lot of these computers are 30 years old, a lot of them. So that's a problem. Yeah. We need to upgrade those computers. But Elon's got algorithms that are basically tracing these funds to where the money's going. And what we're finding is an NGO is a non-government operative, right? Well, a lot of senators' wives run NGOs. So senators will fund this program and then funnel millions of dollars
Okay,
into the
and see
ones-
that they should get rid of.
Right. So I'm saying there is some good being
Absolutely. But Elon, we didn't vote for Elon Musk. And we're paying Elon Musk $8 million a day for his technology. So don't you think that's a conflict of interest?
done. Well, on a government contract that he want to bid for?
Well, that's
Or-
what I'm saying, though. Don't you think that there's some kind of conflict of interest here?
Well,
That
when you
he's not
say-
finding any fraud in what his business or anything has done.
Right.
He's finding it in over here where we have the most money at that our citizens paid into, not our government. Our government didn't put in.
You have an autistic person in your family.
I do.
You've seen Elon Musk.
Yes.
I don't think he has any ill intent. I think he's not getting paid for this either, by the way. I think he is obsessed with rooting out the waste and fraud.
Is he, or is he going to do like they did South Africa?
Well, all we can do is spread fear right now. We don't know yet.
But
We
that's
can't
what
just
I'm
assign
saying,
him.
though.
Yeah.
We didn't vote him in. His
Well,
history.
I have to stop you there. As somebody who voted, I did vote for Elon Musk. Trump told me, I'm going to bring this guy in and he is going to help me with that was Trump ran on that for months. So yes, I did vote for this.
Well, see, and that's what when people would tell me that they're voting for Trump because he's a businessman. Okay, he's bankrupt, like 6. He's not a good businessman.
Well, I would disagree with that as well. He didn't go bankrupt. He made a deal. He got out of the bankruptcy.
But I mean, he's.
I mean, that was years ago. The guy keeps getting up. He'll fail. He went through some bankruptcies. He made a deal. He got better. He had a reality show.
But he also screws people over to get back up. He
Well,
steps
sure.
on people.
Sure, but do you think Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and all those people do that as well? I mean,
No, but-
the kind of people that want to be president are psychopaths or sociopaths at best.
Yeah, but you have to have some kind of wherewithal about you that, I mean, he's so in your face that he doesn't care. He has no empathy.
Do
He
you
doesn't-
do you watch him? Like, do you watch his speeches or do you watch the media
I
coverage?
don't
of
watch
him?
any
Because I don't watch any coverage of him. I watch
don't.
him directly, like the rallies, the speeches, and those things. I think the guy's hilarious. I think he's a comic genius.
But he doesn't make any sense. The times I have heard him, I can't. But I haven't liked him since the 70s when he was in California.
Sure.
So this has nothing to do with the 2016 election. Nothing to do with that.
No matter what you
I
say,
didn't
you're
like
not gonna
him
piss me
from.
off.
I didn't like him from the get-go when he was
That's fair.
a Democrat in California,
Yeah.
acting like he's all sexy.
Yeah.
He's
We're not going to get
just
sideways
right.
over this. You speak your mind.
Right.
I wanna hear
He's
your
not
views.
my cup of tea. In
You thought he was a playboy asshole.
absolutely,
all the way back then.
absolutely,
And I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all.
Absolutely,
Yeah, yeah.
I think he is crass. Just and I'm crass. I am.
Well, I wanted to ask you. It seems
you
like
know-
you almost appreciate that quality in a person.
But I think he's got an arrogance about him
Yes.
that is not like I don't find any enduring things about him. Nothing about him like makes me go, oh, maybe.
Has he ever done anything that you liked? One single thing. Can you name one thing that you feel like, hey, that was a good thing Trump did?
Well, I don't know a lot of things that he did.
Okay.
I
that's
mean,
fair.
other than be a perverted playboy, and
Yeah.
I mean, and to me, he has no respect for women. I mean,
What makes you believe that?
well, he's been married 5 times. He's cheated
Yeah.
on every woman that he's been with.
Yeah.
He wants to fuck his daughter.
But he has so many women in high positions around him. Is that just for eye candy? Because these women are highly qualified.
Well, I'm sure. Or
Is
did
he
they?
just hiring hot chicks?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm sure that has a lot to
He's
do
got a
with.
lot of
I
hot ladies
mean,
around, but they're very tough ladies. I mean,
but I mean, you would have to be to run in his circle.
I wouldn't
you
want to work
wouldn't-
for that guy.
Oh,
that guy's
no.
a fucking asshole.
Yes,
He's relentless.
that's what I'm saying. You have to sell pretty much parts of your soul to be in their
I
positions
don't
like
disagree
that.
with you.
So that's where I don't like that he's taken away some of my rights.
What
As
what
a
rights
woman.
of yours is he taking away?
The ability to have an abortion, the ability to say what I want to do with my body.
Right.
It's.
Well, did he take it away, or did he just put that back to the states to say let the states make?
I
the
think he
decision?
took it away. Why did they fight so hard to get it into the and then he can just come in and go, okay, I don't like that.
Well, a lot of legal scholars, including myself, as somebody who believes the federal government needs about this much authority,
Right.
Build us some fucking roads and be done. The federal government should be telling us what you can and can't do with your body. So that's to me a state right. And so, what a great country that Alabama makes it illegal. Go over to fucking.
But now if you go across they're going to charge you.
Well, see, I disagree
so
with that.
that's
I
where
disagree with that.
they're
I don't-
not letting women go and take care of themselves.
Right.
They're going to let
Right.
women die. They would rather women die.
Right.
So they're showing me in our society now women don't really matter. We are disposable just like our children. Just
But see,
like
that's
the children are
that's an
disposable.
issue, and I told this story recently too. The abortion thing, I think women don't have a lot of empathy for men in the abortion.
I do
thing.
have empathy for men.
No, I
on
believe
that.
you do. I'm saying this in general.
Right.
For example, I'll tell you a story that happened to me. Got a girl pregnant in high school.
Right.
Right. They were going to get an abortion.
Right.
My family did everything. We said, you'll never see this
Right.
kitty. We'll take care of it.
Right.
Anything you want. I mean, we got lawyers. There was nothing we had to do.
Right.
We had no
Right.
rights. And so my voice didn't matter. And I was
Right.
partly responsible for
Right.
making this, right?
Right.
I didn't get to say it all.
Right.
And it has haunted me for 30 years now.
Right.
Right. So,
Yes.
like, and I get it. I get where you're
Yeah.
coming from. Like, that was how I felt when they told me I had to take a vaccine or lose my job.
Right.
Like, the fuck. And so that's when I started
Right.
understanding your point of view. It
Right.
was like, fuck you
Well,
telling me.
And
something
see,
to
with
put
the
in my body.
vaccine, I did dope with people that were like, oh, no, I think I put that shit in my body. I don't know what's in it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you didn't know what was in the bathtub crank either, but it didn't stop you from.
Wow.
So it's like,
When Pfizer's getting billions, when you're basically It's like if a company said everybody in the country has to eat this new Lego or Eggo waffle with this new recipe in it. You have to eat it or you're going to lose your job.
Right.
It's insane. It was authoritarian. It was COVID was...
But I think that's what that was our test.
What do you mean by test?
That was our test, how well we would obey.
We failed.
Yeah, failed miserably.
Well, we can agree on that.
Oh, when they closed down Disneyland, 2020 was very hard on me mentally.
It was terrifying.
Oh, my God.
So you didn't agree with all the lockdowns and shit?
Fuck no.
Okay, we can agree on this.
No.
Yeah.
I could not understand. No.
You know how bad that was for people's mental health?
In my 60 years, I grew up around Disneyland. We went once a month in the summertime. I mean...
Well, to me, it wasn't about the Disneyland. It was about the small business. If I've got a small pizzeria and I've got 3 employees and customers want to come in,
right,
that should be their choice to come in and my choice. They shut them down. They forced them to shut down.
Well, see, that's why when they shut Disneyland down, that's when I knew shit's fucking serious.
You're right.
I've never known Disneyland to shut down.
No.
Ever.
No.
Who shuts down Disneyland?
No.
And then, at work, it was a day off, and I was in work, and I saw a man grab toilet paper out of a woman's hand, just jerk it out of her hand,
really?
And throw it in his cart, and they took off. And I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I looked at the woman, I was like, boy, I'd like to see that son of a bitch try to take shit out of my cart. And then whenever I get home and the next day or so, then everybody's like, and I go back to work and we're like having to guard the toilet paper. And it's like, do you get the shits with this? Do we get the shits? Is that how you know?
Right.
Why are people hoarding the paper towel and the toilet paper? And it was so hard.
Hysteria.
Oh, and the
Panic
people that would
buying.
come in and be so rude to us. Where's your mask? How come you don't have a mask on? It's like, I can't fucking breathe, that's why.
You put people in terrible situations. I remember I stopped wearing the mask because I was like, if you're going to touch a keypad and put a credit card in there and get all those germs on it, this ain't going to stop shit.
Yeah.
So I just stopped wearing them. And if you're going to kick me out, kick me out. But these gas station attendants were being forced to be security people and enforce. That's not their job. They're making minimum wage, and they're getting into these arguments with these people. And I saw it many times. And they'd be fighting with customers, and I'm not going to be rude or disrespectful. If somebody tells me to put it on, I'll just leave.
Right.
But I'm also not going to do it just because society says you have to do it. It did not make sense. It was we know now it was a common cold, essentially. Right. Did people die from it? Absolutely.
It was on the Lysol jars. When COVID-19 hit, COVID was already on Lysol jars. We already had a COVID variant. It just wasn't the 19.
Right.
So that's what I was like, what the fuck is everybody over the flu?
Yeah.
If we focused
right now, flu, but...
if we focused right now on how many people died every day, if that's all we just focused on was people dying.
Remember the COVID ticker? And it's like, well, let's throw up the death ticker for cancer and alcohol.
Right. We would have the same amount of deaths every day.
Yeah.
It's just they focused on that one group. And I was so terrified of bringing something home to Frank because he had compromised lungs.
Sure. Well, if
we got it twice. We got it twice.
And you lived?
And he lived.
Yeah.
And he was
Even
the most compromised.
Well, he had, what do they call it?
COPD.
Well, no, they say underlying conditions.
Right. Absolutely.
Comorbidities.
He should have been dead.
He should have been dead. But
No. We die when it's our time.
And that's the thing to me is that I can't forgive, is that they forced small businesses who had businesses for 80 years. They said, even if your clients want to come see you and you're willing to stay open and accept that risk, you can't.
Yeah.
That is the most un-American thing. And where did that money go?
Right. Yes.
You shut down all the restaurants. Who gets it? The big box chains.
Right.
You shut down all the mom and pop grocery stores. Who gets it?
Right.
Next up. So Amazon, the Walmart, all this money is going up. It was a calculated move, in my opinion.
That's why I say that.
And if you want some criticism on Trump from me, that Project Warp Speed shit was insane. I felt like it was highly unusual to say, hey, we're going to rush this drug out. It's not been tested. We don't know what it's going to do. If it fucks you up, you have no recourse whatsoever. The company can't be sued. And he bragged about that shit.
Well, they did the same with fentanyl. So, I mean,
But
that family's
evil.
protected.
But that's evil, Peggy.
Yes, it is.
It's evil.
Yeah.
And they didn't study anybody who died from vaccine injuries gets buried.
Nothing.
There was no.
No.
And people couldn't even see their loved ones when they
No,
were dying.
they had to die by
They
themselves.
had to die alone.
Yes.
What is the most horrible way
Yes.
to die?
Yes.
Alone.
Yes.
And because of this fucking cold that was
Right.
going around, you couldn't even be
Right.
in the room with your loved
Yes.
one when they were
Right.
dying. I can't
Absolutely.
forgive that.
No. That's horrible.
You can't undo that, and you can't
No.
unsee that. And the media was complicit in it, and the media
Yes.
pushed that narrative.
Oh, yes.
And guess who their biggest advertisers were? Pfizer.
Of course.
Even Fox News.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all of them.
But
I don't
that's who
trust
runs
any
our
of them.
government, is the pharmaceuticals, the tobacco.
But it's
the,
not just
you
them,
know.
it's the war companies.
Yes,
the people who make
absolutely.
these weapons and these contracts. War is the biggest profiteer
Yes,
on the
yes,
planet.
yes.
So why on earth would anybody want to stop war?
Right.
Because these people are making billions.
Yeah.
And then, once the war... guess who gets the contract to rebuild Ukraine?
Right.
BlackRock. Oh, imagine that. Hey, we'll come in and fix it for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We, as Americans, go in and stir shit up
Right.
all over the planet, fuck shit up, and then we come in and say, well,
Be the hero.
we'll take the money to fix this
Right.
and rebuild it. Yeah,
Yeah.
We're a shady fucking country.
Yes.
And I don't think... I mean, that didn't start with Trump.
No. Oh, no.
This
no,
is something
no, no.
Dwight Eisenhower revealed to us about the Industrial War Machine
Right.
on his farewell address. I mean, after World War II, we went from being a country to an empire.
Right.
And now we've had peace for a long time,
Yes.
but we've also built up a lot of resentment during that time.
Right.
You know.
Oh, yeah.
You look at, and we even talked about the kids we're seeing today
Yes.
who are just worthless.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes, and if what happens if they shut off the technology for them children? What are they going to do?
well, you and I would be just fine.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying.
Wouldn't
They're
phase us.
they're going to go ape shit.
Well, what are they going to do?
You
when they
talk
have to
about
go to a-
mental health. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Well, I want to talk about another thing with mental health, because there's a lot of people who just really, everybody's got to be protected. Everybody,
Right.
everybody's in a safe space. But these are the same people who will get on social media and call you the worst names in the book. There was one
Keyboard
night,
warriors.
well, there was one night when I was just depressed as fuck, and I had made a comment like 2 days prior, and somebody comes back with just calling me every racist
Yeah.
name of the book, and I was being positive.
Right.
You know my
Yes.
post. I am not a negative person. I very intentionally. I might ask questions,
Right.
Or is it because I'm trying to
Right.
learn? I'm not
Right.
trying to be a smartass. It's
Right.
like, hey, if you're saying this, can you provide the source?
Right.
I want to look into it,
Right.
Because I feel like if I'm wrong, I want to know it,
Right.
and
Right.
if you have a better answer, it makes my argument better.
Right.
Right. And they just called me all kinds of nastiness, and it just devastated
Yeah.
me.
See.
What if somebody was like this close,
Yeah.
and like that was the last straw?
Right.
When you're mean and you're nasty and you're bullying on social media, think about and you're the same type of person that says, "Hey, we got to respect mental health."
Right.
That's not doing it.
Right.
You could be killing people, and I'm
Yes.
not
Right. No. No.
not a
Keyboard
far stretch.
warriors are horrible.
People
because
kill
they
themselves
they
over
have not been slapped enough
We
by
can't
society.
we can't have a civil discourse online because nobody can get punched in the mouth.
Right.
If you said the shit you said on social
Right.
media in this room,
Yes.
there'd be a fucking ass beating and a
Right.
drag.
Yes.
You know
yes.
what I mean?
Yes. Somebody's gonna get slapped.
You and I are just going to disagree on
Right.
some things, but I love you.
Right.
And I don't
Right.
care.
Right.
You're
And
more
you-
important to me than an ideology or
Right.
a belief. And we might disagree and
Right.
say, "Hey, we can't
Right.
get together on that one," but we got so many other things,
Right.
so many beautiful
Yes.
things
Yes.
in politics, honestly.
And that's why I don't want to define you as MAGA,
But that's why I appreciate
because
you seeing
it's
past
so negative. It comes with so many negative connotations to that.
But so does leftists.
Absolutely.
Right, it's
where
both.
I'm
It's-
not. That's where people go. Oh, well, you want? No, I would love peace in the world. Let's all just
Yeah.
get along. Can't
I
we
think-
all just play
I
together?
want Trump to fucking tear down the federal government. That is what I
But
want.
I want them to start showing us all of this stuff that they're getting.
Well,
Today they were supposed to do, what is it, the
JFK
Files? Have they showed that?
I will tell you my feelings on this. That the fucking Epstein thing was a disaster. It was
Yeah.
embarrassing. Pam
Yes.
Bondi looked like an idiot. Trump looked like an
Yes.
idiot. And the fucking YouTubers that came out holding these files, it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
They were acting like it was some kind of trophy when the whole case is about girls getting trafficked and raped
Yes.
by powerful men. This is not a joke.
No.
This is not.
But that's what they think about. That's what I'm saying, that women are not. They're girls and women. So
Yeah.
there's no respect whatsoever for us.
Well, I'm agreeing with you. That was
Because,
disgusting.
and I'm not saying that boys don't get, boys get trafficked too.
Oh,
Boys get,
100%. Sure.
molested too.
They do.
Because that was my niece. There was a boy
There's
with that.
a certain market.
They adopted a boy and a girl just for the purpose to have sex with these rich elite people.
This happened. This is somebody you know?
Yeah. It's my dad had a
do you
son
even
that didn't
live
even
with that
know.
knowledge?
I haven't met her in person. I've only talked to her online. But yeah, that she was adopted at birth by these people, and when she got to be about 13 years old, 12 to 13, she knew that what they were doing was wrong. And she tried to get the boy to go against them. Let's tell somebody what they're doing to
Hold on,
us.
They adopted 2 kids,
Yes.
siblings,
No,
just 2 kids.
just 2 kids.
They same age.
I don't know, probably around the same
So they
age.
start
from what
molesting the
she,
girl when she's a teenager.
both of them were molested from early. At 12 and 13 is when she taught the boy to say, hey, let's tell on these people, to have them quit doing it. No, I'm thinking probably all of her life she was molested by them and their friends.
And this is why they adopted them.
Yes, because they had other children that weren't taken to the parties. Just those 2 were taken to the parties. They didn't do it to their own children. They adopted children to do it too.
And these are wealthy people.
These are wealthy people.
I'm sorry.
So yes, that's why it just is. And he's involved.
I was excited about the Epstein list, and I felt like they treated it like an advert for a fight, you know. And Trump's a marketer, and I get it. And I've got
But he
problems-
can't tell on himself. He's not going to let that list out when his name's on there.
I don't think he had anything to do with the fucking underage girls. I don't think they've placed him on the island. He's been on the plane a couple times, but it was within the United States. I don't think Trump did anything untoward. I think they're protecting the Mossad and the CIA. I think it was a joint intelligence operation. You're familiar with the Mossad, Jewish intelligence, greatest in the world. I mean, they learned from the KGB, from the CIA, Jewish intelligence, the Mossad. Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, big media mogul over there, is a known Mossad agent. Jeffrey Epstein comes into the picture. I don't think it's Trump. If they had anything on Trump, that dude would be gone years ago. I think they're protecting both our own government and the Israeli government. That's my true belief. And this will probably get the episode taken down, but
I think he's screwed young girls. I don't
Trump?
think. Yeah, I don't.
Really?
Think, yeah, I don't think it mattered how old they were.
I don't
15.
know. I can't say.
I'm saying
believe
minors. 15, 16.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
think
you don't have any proof of that.
none whatsoever.
You're just looking at his
But I know,
character and
right?
assuming.
His. Yeah, I guess
He
his
does like the
character,
ladies,
his-
but I haven't seen anything to make me think he would do that with an underage person.
Well, a lot of them I don't think would. People that I see, I don't think they would do anything with underage people, but they do every day.
But you're making an assumption. You can't prove that.
Oh no, I can't.
Yeah.
I
But
can't.
you feel that way.
Yes. I feel that he's just perverted.
Yeah.
He's just. I don't get a good feeling with him. So yeah, if someone were to say that he had sex with a 15-year-old, absolutely, I wouldn't doubt them.
I don't think they're trying to protect Trump, but that whole...
I think they're just trying to protect all of the rich people.
Well, there's... I mean, the list has got to be massive.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't just...
Right. No, and that's what I'm saying. It
goes
wasn't
deep.
just...
Well, what about the Diddy stuff? That
Yes,
was the exact
absolutely.
same thing. And also, I don't know if you've
Yes.
seen the interview with Diddy's security guard where he's like, he was an FBI agent, dude. The FBI was making him do all this shit. I'll
See-
tell you whatever you want to know, man.
See-
I just don't want to go down. And it's
Yeah.
like, that guy is telling the truth.
Right.
I think Diddy was working
Well,
to gain leverage on celebrities. Right? And I think Epstein was trying to gain leverage on powerful political people. So then they could be controlled
yes.
by Israeli government and our government and say, we need you to do this, we need you to do this. If you don't comply, we've got tapes of you fucking underage girls.
Right.
And that's what Diddy did. Same thing, but with Hollywood actors.
Right.
And I think the source is the same.
And that's
place.
where Epstein, I think, did it with the... But that's why I say Trump was in all that Hollywood stuff back in the day.
He was.
So that's where I'm saying that the pervert that he got... Because back then he was still a younger man to
Sure.
be out there.
Yeah.
You know. But like him, I grabbed her pussy. Why? Why? You're president and you want respect from people, yet you act like a heathen.
You ever heard guys talk around guys when nobody's listening?
Absolutely.
Talk a lot of shit
Absolutely.
that you don't
But you're not the president.
mean.
You're not the president. There's a certain respect that goes with that position that you have to hold yourself to a little higher than the average
So you
norm.
want a perfect person.
No, I don't want a perfect person. I want somebody who's not just rude.
Right.
He's very rude in your face.
I think when you're dealing with people like President Xi and Putin, we need a motherfucker who can talk shit in the White House. And I think masculinity has been dead for a long
But
time.
what do they have on him?
On who?
On Trump?
Nothing.
What does Putin and them
They've
have?
been, I think we have been well, this is a fact. The CIA had a budget. The CIA still has a budget, and they influence Hollywood. So when Reagan was president, we were in the Cold War. So he wanted the villains in the movies to be Russian. That was so if you go back
Right.
and watch any 80s movie, who are the villains? They're the Russians.
Right.
And because that was the CIA budget influencing, hey, we'll fund part of your movie, but we want the villains to be Russian. I think we as Americans have been demonized, or the Russians have been demonized to us for years. I'm not saying Putin's a good guy.
Okay, see, I have to. My dad fought in World War II.
Okay.
So I remember him telling us we would be either speaking Russian, German, or Japanese.
Right.
And if it wasn't for them going and fighting, that they would have taken over. So no, we didn't get a lot of positive reinforcement on German people. My dad.
You still don't. Hitler fucked up that country for a long time.
So that's where, with him, with Putin and all that,
Yeah.
my dad's voice is in my. When the world shut down,
Yeah.
that's all I could hear. My dad going, what the
Yeah.
fuck? I went over and fought this war. He lost a brother in France.
Yeah.
And here we are, just gonna piss it away.
Well, I'm not saying Putin's a good guy, but I think the Russian people are good people.
Oh, absolutely.
And
yes.
I don't want them
Yeah.
to die.
No.
I don't want Ukrainians to die.
No.
And-
I don't want anybody to die.
Right. And that's why I want it to
it's
stop.
so horrible.
It is. War is so. And George Bush, to me, was a war criminal.
So
They
yeah.
lied
Yeah.
about these weapons of mass destruction so we
Yes.
could go in there and do what we
Right.
wanted and do those kinds of
Yes.
things. And back then it was the conservatives. Now it's the liberals.
Right.
The war machine's going to get a hold of somebody.
Right.
And they're going to pay you to do it.
Yes.
Vote for this and
Yes.
we'll pay you. And that's why these people who make $170,000 a year are millionaires when they
Right.
come out of Congress.
Right.
You and I want the same thing for this country.
Yes.
What's best?
Yes.
What's best for our
Yes.
kids? I've got a 14-year-old son.
Right.
Ain't no fucking way I'm going to let him go.
See?
And you want to call me a draft dodger or a pussy or whatever, I don't believe any longer in this. You know, and when you're growing up, it was like, fuck yeah, it's an honor to go die for your country. We're getting ourselves into these wars.
Right. Yes.
You know, and that's where I think America first, in a lot of ways, like, hey, y'all figure it out.
Now that's what Taylor wanted to join the service, and that was like, hell no.
I respect. Respect our service members more than anyone on the planet because they are risking their lives for this country.
Yes.
But having said that, I think our country puts our boys and girls in needless positions.
Right.
We don't need to be
in danger that they don't.
3 boys.
Yeah.
I am terrified, Peggy.
Oh, I'll bet.
Of this escalating.
Yes.
And so anything that can happen to stop this is...
And see, I'm so afraid it's going to be on our soil. Well, it's going to be here. And if it is, I hope it's that group of 80,000 that didn't vote that are going to come out and go, okay, you guys have screwed shit up enough. Let's do it this way.
But you know a lot of rednecks, probably.
Oh, yeah.
They're good people.
Yes, absolutely.
They do anything for you.
Yeah.
They would stop in the middle of the night and stop and help you.
Yes.
Those are MAGA people.
Right. And they're liberals, too. I mean...
Some of them, yeah.
You have both.
But they're both.
Right.
But you just can't...
But that's where I say the MAGA makes you automatically go to hate. When I hear MAGA, hate comes right behind. MAGA, hate. So in my brain, that associates. So I don't like to refer to my friends as MAGA. You may support Trump and believe that he is the right thing to happen to this country. I don't believe that.
That's fair, and I respect your opinion.
And that's where...
But I think that's the media trying to demonize.
I think that's from when I grew up.
I think that's MAGA. There's MAGA nuts out there for sure. But judging all MAGA supporters on the crazies is bigotry, in my opinion. It's like me judging everyone on the left.
I'm not judging everybody. It's just when you identify yourself as a MAGA, hate comes to mind.
Right, and I think that's a little unfair, is what I'm saying.
But
not all people are
that
way. I'd say the vast majority are not that way.
I don't believe that they all are. I don't believe they all are. I'm just saying that in my brain, MAGA equals hate.
I know what you're saying,
and I
think that's sad.
I can't, because too many of them have, I work in the public.
Yeah.
So I've been attacked by people that... Why?
But those people are pieces of shit.
Right.
I've been attacked a lot.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
Should I think that everybody who has a Harris Biden sticker is hateful? I don't believe that. I think everybody.
I don't think everybody that wears a MAGA hat is hateful.
Sure.
It's just I associate MAGA with hate.
But I think that's a problem. You know what I mean? Like, if I associate every liberal with hate, even though a lot of them hate me specifically, I think I'm stereotyping. I'm being a bigot. I wish we could just not... And the media has done this to us.
Absolutely.
It's made us hate each other.
Yes.
And I hate to hear you say that because I'm one of them. And I hate for the first word to come into your head. But that's where I say
I don't think of you
because you judge me on my character,
right?
But I feel a little bit sad that when you see MAGA, you assume hate first. I don't assume hate on the left, even though there's a lot of people on the left who have really been nasty to me.
Yeah.
I like to assume all people are good until they prove me otherwise, and I think the media has demonized each side so much that we are now using terms like MAGA associated with hate. When that's not been my experience with MAGA or the left. It's been my experience with what the media shows me. And maybe you've met some nasty MAGA people. I've met some nasty leftists.
And I have too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not...
There were probably... I mean, if you look at any group of people, there were probably good Nazis.
Oh, yeah.
They went along with a thing. They were wrong. But
But they
got caught up.
believed, like
And
we
I
were
don't
talking about our parents. You do what you can at the time.
Yeah,
Of what you
and
know.
I don't think a lot of them knew what they were getting into. I
No.
don't think they signed up for murdering Jews.
Right.
That wasn't
Right.
probably what they wanted to do. They were probably good people, thought they were serving Germany. And
But see, that's what
things got out
I
of
fear
control.
with the border. Like the Hispanics. Are we going to start,
Yeah.
they've got them all, in this where they,
Yeah.
Guantanamo Bay or wherever
Yeah.
the hell they're taking them.
Yeah.
And they're just taking them. Nobody knows where they're at, what they're doing to them,
Yeah.
So that's...
Well, there's also so much we don't know.
Right.
And
There's
that's the
a
thing-
lot we don't
That's
know.
the thing I always try and remember, or at least apply, is like, this is what we're being told, and we're being told what we're supposed to know.
Yes.
So much of it is hidden from us.
Right.
And the goal of the media is to divide us.
Yes.
And that's why this is so beautiful.
Yes.
We can have a conversation and disagree and still say, you know what? We're both getting fucked and we know it.
Right. Yes.
So they're trying to divide us. These people are smart. And they got
Well,
a lot
yes.
of money,
Yes.
And
And control.
Yes, absolutely.
Because they can control.
Right. But
And then with the technology, with like AI, that's where it scares me on that. That they're knowing too much.
Well, shit, they've already got every text you've ever sent.
Oh, yeah.
They have
Oh,
every
yeah.
voice.
Well, that's why I say I've been sleeping with China for 25 years.
They could arrest all of us right now for
Yeah.
anything.
Right.
It's we live in scary times.
Absolutely.
And fear is a motivator.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But a lot of what I'm hearing right now about Trump is not necessarily based in fact, it's based in fear. He's going to do this and it's going to cause X. Let's wait and see.
See, I think
wanna
we're
be
going to
hopeful.
make it to the other side. I just don't know what it's
And
going to
that's
take
fair.
to get there.
That's fair.
What are
We've never
what do we
been
have
here
to,
before.
No.
This
What
is
are
new
we
for
going to
all of
have
us.
to do to get past all of the hate and the divide and the,
This right here.
so,
Sitting down with somebody
right?
you might not agree with and saying,
But
I
there's
love you
so
regardless.
much to divide that,
yeah, but why can't more people do this?
because a lot of people aren't open-minded,
Maybe.
that they have one train of thought, and if that's not the way that you think, then
You
we
might
don't.
disagree with me, but you're hearing me out. And
Absolutely.
You're not getting angry,
no,
and neither am I.
no,
And we may not end up coming to a solution, but we can still say
right,
we want the best for what. It's like two parents
right,
that we might disagree how to be there, but we love this child
Right.
and we want what's best for
Best
this
for it.
child. I believe you're a proud American and you
Yes.
want best for this country.
Yes.
And so do I.
yes.
So let's agree.
And I
on
know
that.
we're getting screwed.
We're both
That's-
getting fucked by the government.
Yeah,
So see,
yeah.
that's an easy.
But I don't think he's going to fuck us any less. I don't think he's going to give us any less of a fucking.
Maybe not.
Maybe
not.
But it's going to stir up
Maybe.
everything that's going. It already is stirring up. But are they going to just, like always, tell us what we need to know, and then cover up all the rest?
But the thing
just like
is-
the Epstein files.
Yeah. Well, that was bullshit.
You
And
know?
I'll call that out. I'll call strikes
right.
when
that's-
he's fucking up. I will absolutely.
So, and what are they going to say about the
It's
JFK?
now 7:00, and I've heard jack shit about the JFK files.
See?
So I'm
It's
with you.
just another deal. That,
I'm with you there.
And that with you on all the corruption that they're finding, why can't they show us where? Where are you finding all of this?
They are.
that
It's on
you-
Doge.com. You can
So
go find it.
go-
It's they're listing it out.
So
But they can't. So, I think a lot of the misconception is that Doge is an enforcement body, like it can just cut this stuff. It's an advisory board. It
Right.
says, "Hey, here's all the waste and fraud. Now y'all need to decide what you want to do with it." So then the department has to decide: is it not? And then it has to go before the courts. So there is still a process. Doge is not just cutting all this stuff; it's just finding it, showing.
So what about all the firings?
Well, you're talking about like the ones who wouldn't answer the email. I mean, there have been people laid off, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of that's under executive power.
Right.
Some of it's not. Some of it is stuff that Congress has passed, and you can't just undo that. but the president can fire certain employees. So if there's, groups that are just sucking up taxpayer revenue that aren't actually doing anything positive.
And do I believe there are, like you said, on the wives having these little committees that you pay and they're just funneling money back into their self.
Yeah.
Just like the Social Security checks, them saying that they're sending them to dead people, where people, the layman that doesn't know any better, is thinking that Joe Blow down the block has been getting Social Security for the last 10 years, and it's not his.
Well,
he's an illegal alien. What the hell? Why are they getting our tax dollars?
Right.
And it's just so much.
Well, we're overwhelmed with information right now.
Yeah.
Times were simpler.
That's why I say technology is.
Yeah.
We've not advanced to the technology.
No.
I mean,
We have.
and I really haven't, because I'm.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I was Dewey Decimal.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I mean,
I learned the Dewey Decimal System. The way I look at it, though, is that I voted, and there's no way I would never get elected president.
Right.
Because I'm not a sociopath.
Yeah.
I couldn't corrupt my values because
Right.
I would have to change my values depending on who
Absolutely.
was funding my campaign.
Right.
Right. There's a lot of things I'd have to do, and even if I could do it, I would lose my soul in the process.
Right.
The kind of people who want to be
absolutely.
president are sociopaths.
Yes.
Like, they don't, and when people say, "Oh, Trump doesn't care about you," yeah, I'm well aware.
Right.
He doesn't know who I am.
Right.
And even if
Right.
he did,
He don't give two shits.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
I
He don't even
think-
give two shits about his own family.
I don't.
but,
I think he's. I think he's softened in his age. I see his granddaughters really love him, and he's got some special stuff with them. But none of that matters. What I'm trying to say is, like, I voted, and now it's out of my control.
Right.
And it's like the Alcoholics Anonymous prayer. Prayer.
Right.
Give me the strength and the courage to I'm gonna
Change
butcher
the
it.
things I can and.
Yeah, that one. I can't
The
control
courage to
anything.
know the
I'm out of
difference.
control right now.
Right.
Like I can't
Right.
affect anything. All I can do is be hopeful that the person that I chose does a good job. But I want what's best for our country.
Right.
And that's it.
And that's what I want.
And that's what you want too.
Yes.
So I would just want to.
And all the hate to stop.
I agreed. There was nastiness from the right when Biden was in office.
Yeah.
There's nastiness now that Trump's in office. I just wish.
It's like we've been living in hate for 8 years.
But it wasn't like
you
this
know?
when I was a kid. I remember.
No.
I remember my parents were not for Clinton, but when he got elected, it was like, oh, all right, he's the guy.
Oh, my aunt loved Bill Clinton. My mom hated him.
Dude, that dude was a
My
banger.
mother hated Bill Clinton, but my aunt, my dad's sister, she loved him. And she died that year that he was run for president. And my mother voted for Bill Clinton just for my aunt.
Really?
She's like, I'm going to go vote for that son of a bitch because Vivian's not here to do it.
Well, dude, my child. I grew up.
You
in
know,
the 90s.
it wasn't a fight. It wasn't
No.
the hate and the
Okay,
that we've
but
come
look,
to in this.
So
The ugliness.
when did it happen? I feel like it started with Trump.
Well,
I don't feel like people were that nasty about Obama.
well, when Obama first started, the black was an issue.
Did you
But
see
then
that?
the black became a good issue that got him elected, I think. He turned the card. I think
But did
Barack
you see any
Obama
any
is
people you knew any racism toward Obama?
no,
Because I did not.
No, not any other than
The guy was
the
cool.
racism you see. Absolutely.
I mean, up
and
until
they
the second term.
they fucked with him about his birth certificate and shit. I was like, what the?
Well, that was Trump.
But yeah, right. And
That
that's
was
what I'm
Trump.
saying. Why do
Hey,
you?
but Trump's also, he's a troll.
He is.
He's a shit poster.
He is. He's
is.
one that hasn't been slapped enough.
And I get you.
He has not been slapped enough in his life
I'll
to
give you
bring him
that kind of like.
know.
I get where you're coming from. He needs to be more presidential. Where I'm thinking more like, hey, we're getting ready to come up on some Genghis Khan shit. I want the guy with the biggest machine gun right now, not fucking.
Yeah, but is he part of Genghis Khan? That's what I worry about. Are we
Yeah.
all just Genghis Khan? You know, I mean,
Maybe.
what the hell? Are we in a
Maybe.
matrix that, you know, we're all just kind of,
Peggy, I question our reality.
you know, what?
I question our history.
You know,
I mean, I don't know if you've
it's-
studied any like the Sumerian texts and stuff that
I have
predate the
not.
Bible. They talk about the Anunnaki, and it was a race of gods. They were twice our size. They came from another planet. They set themselves up, set themselves up as gods here. So, and these are in the Sumerian tablets. You can find translations of them. AI is a good source to do that. But these Anunnaki had technology, and there was a humanoid race here, and they were breeding them, and basically accelerating our development to help them as slaves, basically. And they were allegedly a slave race of another class, and that at some point the Galactic Council or whatever found out that they had landed here and were like, you can't fuck with other civilizations. You got to get the fuck out and get rid of all the evidence. And that's where the flood comes in. They flooded everything to get rid of all the evidence, but all the stuff under the ground and stuff is still there. That's why you have pyramids
Right.
in every continent, and the theories that these were like basically like Wi-Fi towers. They could connect to each other. There's all this energy there.
Wow.
There's ideas that they had like devices where if you hit something with a certain vibration, if I hit that chair with the right frequency, I can lift it, I can levitate it. And so what you refer to as, you know, like God, and the Old Testament God is a murderer and an asshole.
Right.
The God of the New Testament is this loving,
Vengeful,
all forgiving. They're two
A
different
vengeful God
things.
and yeah.
Right, but the theory was that the original like Old Testament was written with God as plural, and that they changed it later on. I think it was the Nicene Convention, when basically the churches all got together and decided, hey, what are we going to put in the Bible? What are we not? There's Gospels where Jesus is a baby murdering people.
Right.
There's Gospels where he had sex with Mary Magdalene, and we don't want that getting out. So we're going to cherry pick, right? So I think there's a much deeper history, and Jesus disappears for like 20 something years. He's just gone.
Right.
Where was he? Was he in Egypt learning?
See.
Was there an Anunnaki there still who had
See.
remained behind as kind of a caretaker and taught Jesus how? These are all. I'm
teachings,
just
right. Ideologies,
This is
yes.
all. I'm not purporting any of this as fact. These are just theories that I've
Right.
been talking to AI about, and I'm like, could this be possible based on the Sumerian tablet? Like, could
Right.
this have happened? And and it's feeding back and coming up with these stories, and what if, because if you look at it at the time, Rome and the whatever the Jewish church was, I mean, that was where the power was.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus shook up the power structure
Right.
completely. I mean, and if you read the red letters and the things he was teaching, they're valuable now.
Yes.
Like, they have aged so well.
Right.
But we're still doing the same shit.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's why I said earlier, if he came back today, we'd kill him again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you believe that he's coming back? Like, do you believe, like, literally that he will return? Or do you think the second coming is a consciousness that we achieve?
I think it's a consciousness that
Really?
we achieve.
So you don't believe the resurrection, or like the second coming literally?
No, because
You
I
believe
think
it
he's going
requires
to let
us-
us. He lets us free will.
Right.
Man will destroy man,
Right.
and he's going to let us. And I believe that's what's happening.
Okay.
Is that we're destroying ourselves
We are.
to build better. I believe something better is going to come of this.
And
But
maybe it
it's
all needs to
just
be torn down
right.
first, though.
And see, yeah. So is that the part where man destroys man? Is this that part?
Yeah.
So I sometimes wonder about that. Is this the part to where?
Yeah.
Because we've never had war on our soil. We've never had to fight for our country here.
Well,
We have fought for
no.
our country in other countries. Supposedly, we're fighting for our freedoms.
Well, I mean, we had the
but we're
Revolutionary
not.
War, the Civil War, the Mexico War,
Right.
But nothing since.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. In our time.
Since we've been-
in
yeah,
real
yeah.
time of,
Not since the Civil War,
Right.
which was 1860s.
Right.
Yeah. No, and
So-
we're very lucky.
Yeah.
One of the few
Yes.
countries.
Right. Yes. And see, I thought with Iran and Iraq that it was coming here.
Well,
Right.
9/11 did
Yeah.
change that, but then
Yes.
there's a lot of information that
Right.
says that the Bush administration knew that attack was coming.
See, and that's
And,
I think that our government
I
is.
can't get over that. I think we did know it was coming. In fact, Osama bin Laden was a CIA asset for a long time.
Oh,
We used him. We knew who he was. There's video of Alex Jones in is it July of that same year saying they're getting ready to do a terrorist attack and they're going to blame Osama bin Laden. They're probably going to knock down the two towers. It's crazy if you watch it.
See?
He called it, and then it happened, but everybody thinks the crazy guy is nuts.
Right.
Because it's like John the Baptist, right?
Right.
He was the crazy preacher out there saying there's going to be all
Yeah.
this shit going down.
Yeah.
And sometimes the crazy guy is the only one who's right.
Right.
You
Yes.
sound crazy when you go, but so
The
many
town
people
crier.
are sheep and they're programmed to believe things.
Right.
Right? There's a study about depressive chimpanzees who don't live with the tribe. They live on the outskirts because they don't want to be part of society. And these scientists were studying them, and they ended up. This comes from a Dark Horse podcast from many years ago. Brett Weinstein. He was a college professor. He's very much a leftist, and he got fired for making a comment about there was. The black students got to do a school walkout,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Hey, this isn't really healthy. You know, you can't just say one group of kids. If you're gonna do a walkout,
Right.
but that's not really fair." They fired him for being a racist,
Yeah.
and this is a liberal college professor. And during COVID, he was really calling out some of the bullshit. I respect people mostly who have been on the left because I've always identified on the left. I've always mostly been liberal. Who are reasonable people,
Right.
Who are logical people,
And we'll listen to an argument. I mean, to
yeah,
a different opinion.
absolutely,
That's
absolutely, because an echo chamber is dangerous,
Right.
So the story he was telling was about these depressive chimps. They would come and sometimes eat with the tribe, but they wouldn't live with them. Well, these scientists I may be butchering this a little bit, but the scientists removed some of these chimps to study them. Well, the entire tribe of chimps, the other ones all got killed. Because these antisocial chimps that lived on the outside were a warning. So
if
they were seeing shit, they'd alert the tribe inside.
Right.
So it's kind of like an Alex Jones or somebody saying, hey, all this
Right.
crazy shit's
Hey.
going on, and nobody wants to listen, and then, boom, you're dead.
dead.
So even though they weren't normal,
right.
right, by our standards,
Right.
these were like the crazy chimps. They were protecting.
Protecting it.
Isn't that wild? And that's
Yeah.
nature.
See.
It's all interconnected.
Yes.
And I know you feel it. It's a spiritual
yes.
energy
Yes.
that
Yes.
connects us all.
Yes.
And it goes deep.
It does. But a lot of people don't want to tap into theirs either because they don't want to change. They become so familiar with you're comfortable.
Yeah,
It's what
it's
you
my
know.
church. It's my
Right,
preacher.
it's
and
what
this
you
is
know,
what I
and
believe,
this is-
and I'm
yeah.
not willing to
Yes,
consider.
I
'cause
was
it sounds
raised in
weird.
this church. My family and the
Yeah.
whole 9 yards, and I'm happy for people that do that. I'm happy when they find happiness in.
If it makes them happy.
Yes, yeah. Are you really happy?
Right.
You know, that's
Yeah.
where.
I just never found it valuable to have some guy tell me what the Bible means.
Right.
You know, when I can have
Or
that
what
direct-
I feel.
Or
what,
how you interpret.
yeah.
Well, why are there 50 denominations of Christianity? Because
Yes.
they're all interpreting it differently.
Well, I asked when Mandy was young. She went to the church over there by our house, and they would come and pick them up in the bus in the apartment. And the two men came up one night and got Mandy. And when she came home, she said, the next time I go, I'm going to be saved. And I said, what? She said, yeah, they told me that I have to be saved.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, they did, huh?
Did they? Yeah,
Okay. So the next week when them two men come up there to get her, they caught Bobby D. And I let them know, don't Don't
Yeah.
you save my daughter.
Yeah.
Don't you tell my daughter that she has to be saved.
Yeah.
Or, because she was 9, 10. I mean, you're telling these children that they're going to go to hell? Is that what you're teaching them?
It's
They're,
nuts.
no, she doesn't have to be saved.
And the
She
baptism
doesn't.
thing. What's up with the baptism
See,
thing? Sprinkling some holy water,
Yeah.
and then you're saved then.
Yes.
But so now you just go mass
And how does a
murder.
baby? Mandy had to be christened whenever she was a baby, and I always thought, how is she asking? Because you're supposed to ask to forgive your sins.
Right.
What kind of sins does a baby have
Right.
that you have to christen them? That
Well, can you imagine St. Peter? It's
You
like,
know.
man, you raped and murdered a lot of people, but you got baptized. Get on.
yeah, yeah. Come on in.
I don't think that's how
So-
that works. I also don't think it's what you believe. I think it has to do with the energy of your soul.
The
You either
karma.
have a positive
I think
energy
there's
or
a
a negative
karma
energy.
that comes back around.
I believe that too.
That if you put bad out, bad's going to come back to you.
It's all energy. It's all
Yes.
frequency.
Yes.
That is spirituality.
Yes.
Things that we can't see that are
Right.
beyond the
Right.
veil.
But you know,
But there's a higher
you
power.
can't explain it to somebody, but you know it.
But it gives what you put into it. That's what
Yes.
I found.
Yes.
The more positive I am and the more I try and work at improving myself, the better my life becomes.
Right.
That's-
Always.
Always. I mean, and that's
I never ever would have thought I was going to be a homeowner, that I would buy a house.
Really?
And I'm sure 90% of the people who know me would never have bet that Peggy's going to get her shit together and own a home.
really. When did you buy?
2014.
Same year I moved in here?
The boys was getting up into teenage,
Yeah.
and we was looking for another place to rent. And I drove by, and this house had a for sale sign in the yard. And so I wrote down the number, and I asked them, is it owner finance? Because I
Yeah.
didn't think that I could get credit,
Right.
And she was like, no, but our loan is through Arvest, So I went up to Arvest and filled out, and they approved me. And they were asking $114,000 for the house, and Arvest had it appraised at $109,000. So they would only loan me $109,000. So I was like, okay, well, a couple that worked at the lab were buying a house at the same time, and they didn't have to have no money down. They didn't have to have nothing, and paid the whole thing. I was like, well, hell. And so once I go over and check out Our Lady. So I went over to, it's Arvis now, I think, right there in Lowe's parking lot. I think it was Signature. No. Anyways, it was a different bank then. And
Which one are you talking about? The one in Farmington?
no, the one right there at the Lowe's. And there's that bank right in front where you come out of Walmart
On Martin Luther King?
on Martin Luther King.
Oh.
And that used to be
Wasn't it Simmons?
Simmons, maybe,
I think
was
that's
what
what
it
you
was.
said.
I said Signature.
Oh, Signature. I think it was a
Simmons.
Yeah, okay.
And she worked there, and I went in, and they approved me for the whole 109. And so she's like, yeah, we can do that. And so I called the lady, and I was like, I got the loan, but they'll only approve it for the 109, because that Arvis,
Yeah.
that's who they had the account with, and they
Yeah,
did
they did the-
appraisal.
Mm.
And so she's like, well, let me talk to my husband and I'll call you back. And so she called back the next day, and she's like, well, we're not going to make anything, but we'll take that, And I was like, okay. He works for Tyson, so they was moving into one of the Tyson houses. And I was like, okay. And so then I told Frank, I was like, I bought a house. He's like, what? And I was like, yeah, me and the boys are moving over there. If you want to come with us, you can. His name's not on the house.
Yeah.
His was, and that was a real...
But you're proud of that.
Oh,
You still there?
absolutely,
That's-
yeah. And it's our house. I always thought of it as our house. He
Really?
didn't. He always was like, this is your house. This is your house. You make sure
Right.
that my house. You know how whenever you talk, my house, and he's like, oh yeah, you always make sure it's my house. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So I would have to consciously think our house. our house. You know, it was little nitpick shit like
But
that
that's
he would
so
do.
beautiful.
But yeah, but it
You
was
did it.
yes, it was
Later in
ours.
life,
Absolutely.
You're in your 50s at this point, probably.
Yes,
And
51.
you did it.
Yes. Yes.
Dude, fucking
And-
awesome.
Yeah, and Mandy too. I mean, it's like anything is possible.
You know, we'd still
There's-
be living in a fucking, I don't even know where if it weren't for my wife.
Yeah.
Like, I just am happy anywhere.
Right.
Like, we had when we got married, we bought a 600 square foot condo.
Yeah.
And, God, if we'd have held on to that thing, it'd be fucking, it's right on Razorback Road
Oh,
next
my
to the baseball
God.
stadium. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't want to talk about that. But anyway, we sold it when we bought this place to get the
Right.
money down and everything. But I would still be living there right
Yeah.
now with 3 boys.
Right.
Like, I just am not.
Right.
And she was like, "We gotta get a bigger place. We gotta get a bigger."
Yeah.
You know, so okay, well, whatever you think.
Yeah.
You know, I was just along for the ride,
Right.
and then it was like, we need to buy a place. We can't just be renting.
Right.
Okay, whatever you think.
Yeah.
But
Just let me know where we're living.
We would not be here if it weren't for my wife.
Yeah.
So like, she got us out here. James Gibson, God bless you, sir, hooked us up, and we got lucky. We found a place out in the country. We were able to build out here,
Right.
raising our boys out here. But like, I never would have made this happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes
I-
God just
Yeah.
puts people somewhere
Yeah.
and things happen.
Yeah.
I truly believe in
Yes.
that, but
yes.
I really don't like it when people try and force God into this box
Right.
of here's what you have
Yes.
to believe and here's what you
Yes.
think.
Yes.
I think God's probably smart enough to kind of get a sense of your soul.
Yes.
You might say a few cuss
And he
words.
has it. Yes, he has a sense
I
of
think
humor.
he's got a sense of humor. Obviously.
Absolutely. You know.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Look at Alabama. I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's got a sense of humor. But I don't like that authoritarian, like,
Right.
you got to go to this church
Right.
at this time and sing these songs.
Yes.
And God
And believe
doesn't
this
care
way.
about that
Right.
shit. God
No.
is an energy being.
Yes. Yes.
It's a positive spirit. But yeah, that's cool that we kind of see it the same
Yes.
way.
Yes.
So I don't know a lot of people that can
Yeah.
talk about religion in those terms.
Right. Yes. But they have to have a God. And
Well, people want to they want to explain it, but God is so far beyond our comprehension.
Right.
Like, we can't even think about what.
and
the
I think of it
fourth-
as a feeling. I don't think of it as a person.
Yeah, I think of it as a frequency.
Right. As
Yeah.
there's an energy in
Yes.
us that
But just like we were talking about.
and I think some people either have it or they don't too. There's a lot of people
Well, what do
that
you mean
don't
by-
have the energy, or they do have it and they just don't tap into it. Like the mean people, the hateful people. How do you be mean and hateful and have this good energy in you?
Well, you can.
I can. I always call it the Bobby D coming out.
Yeah.
But that's because that's how you're programmed, and that was how I was raised, and so
Yeah.
that comes out. But once you get that feeling in you of knowing that there's something better, and that your energy that you put out comes back to you, it totally changes the
Well,
way.
I think that goes back to a lot of narrative too. When you're told by the church and your parents, this is the way to God.
Right.
Read this verse
and the way you talk to yourself
Right.
has a lot.
Right,
You know,
right.
that if you have negative around
Right.
you,
But I think the church
that
pushes
you
a lot of
have to-
people away from God.
yes,
And I think that's detrimental, and it makes you look at God through this really tiny lens.
right,
When it's like we were talking earlier about the second dimension, third dimension.
Right.
What does the fourth dimension
Right.
look like? We can't even comprehend it.
and everything's
can't
not
see
black
it.
and white. There's all shades of gray.
Always.
You know, where a lot of people are just black and white. They're just
binary.
it's either this way or
Well,
that
that's
way.
what we've become as a society. It's
You know,
binary.
Right.
Your team is bad.
Right.
My team is
Yes.
perfect.
Yeah.
Both teams are fucked up.
Right. Yes.
There's some positives here, some
Right.
negatives here.
Yes.
And that's why you talk about the people in the middle.
Yeah.
If those people,
Rise up.
let's
And
get some.
that's what I'm hoping for.
I
Is
hope
that they're going to rise
I hope
up.
that too. I don't think Trump
So-
is the perfect man.
No.
I think he's the right guy for the job right now, and that is my belief, and I voted for
That's
him.
right.
But I want America to win.
Right.
So had Kamala won, I would want America
Right.
to win.
Yes.
I would root for
Yes.
her because
Right.
she would be my president.
Right.
And that's what I want people to do. Like I rooted for Joe Biden. I wasn't
I
happy
root
with
for
it.
America. I
I root
can't
for
say
America.
that I root for him. Because,
But he was our president.
yes.
And I rooted
but
for him.
That's where, if he wants respect from me, he needs to earn it. You don't just get to walk up in there and act like a trash and expect to get respected
Well, the way I look at it is
just because you're president.
Daddy's been gone for a long time. The kids have fucked everything up, and now Daddy's home and shit's getting ready to hit the fan. That's how I'm looking at this right now. I think we need somebody with a fucking attitude. And hey, I could be wrong, Peggy. I don't know
I
everything.
know.
That's just the
That's
gut-
the scary part.
right.
Is we don't know.
But don't hate me for it.
Oh, no,
you know
I
what I
don't
mean.
hate
And I
you.
know
Right.
you don't. But like,
No.
I'm just saying that to people. Like, don't hate your brothers and sisters for who they vote for, because it is such a small part. It's unfortunate we talked about this so much, but I'm glad we did, because it proves that people can have these conversations.
Absolutely.
I wanted it to be a little bit more fun, which means, unfortunately, you're gonna have to come back. I'm sorry.
Well, I had fun.
No, I had fun too, and I think we really got to understand each other, and that's beautiful. But I think if more people could just say, "Hey, they voted for Trump, but they're rooting for America.
Right.
I'm rooting for America.
Right.
Even if you don't like Trump.
Right.
You and I want America
Right.
to succeed,
Yes.
and we want what's best for
A
our
common
family.
goal.
Yes.
Right.
And that's beautiful.
For our country.
For our country.
Yes.
And we might
You know.
disagree on how to get there,
Right.
but it doesn't mean I'm evil
Right.
for thinking.
But there
this is
are
the best
evil
way.
out there. That's
100%, but
that's
it's on
the,
both sides.
Right, absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
believe
There
that
was
you-
just as many Democrats on that plane as there was Republicans going to the Epstein
Well, there
Island.
might have been
You
a few
know,
more Republicans, to be honest with you. John Roberts was on that fucking plane. I know that.
It's like that. That's where the black and white. It's not. It's
Right.
not Democrat, Republican. It's
I don't see it that way.
human. Let's do this human.
Yeah.
Let's be human with each other. And why do we get into somebody's sex life? I don't care how you have sex. Why do you care how I have sex? You know, why do we get in people's sex?
Well,
That's
I
another
guess
subject.
to me it would be whether or not I could get a video of it. You know, if I could watch certain people having sex, I could be down with that.
See?
We need more people on OnlyFans. But no, I know what you're saying. I don't care.
There's some I don't want to see on video.
I think that's another MAGA fallacy. Well, not everybody. You're right. There are hardline religious MAGA people who are disgusting and hateful
Right.
people. Same on the left.
Right, absolutely.
It's an ideology.
Yes.
But I don't like the fact that my whole thing is I don't think kids or parents should be making permanent decisions. It's not about making them aware of transgenderism or anything about that. It's giving them hormones and cutting their dicks off and things that are going to
But they can't do that
permanent.
when they're minors.
Yes, they can. That's the
Where are
whole
they
thing.
doing that?
California.
Oh, well, fucking California does everything crazy, okay?
But what I'm saying is
But that's on the parents that are allowing
but
that to
some of these
happen.
parents, Peggy, want to fit in with society, and it's cool to have trans kids now. So these parents are saying, "Oh, I have a trans kid," so they're
But they're letting their
raising
kids
this-
meow and stuff too. That is the problem of the parents in this generation
Oh, I agree.
of catering to those children who they're giving those children too much information at a young age.
Right.
Why are you talking about
Right.
sex with your child when they're 5-6 years
I don't
old?
know.
On what do you
That's
want to be,
the
a
one
boy or a
thing-
girl?
Well,
That's
to me, like I've always cussed around my kids. I've talked
Right.
about drugs. I've talked about everything. The one thing I wanted to protect them from was sex. It was just like
So-
once sex enters your mind as a boy,
Oh,
it
I
takes
imagine.
over completely.
I imagine.
So I
So-
wanted to protect. So it's like those were my problems. Julia, my wife's just like, oh, it's just a human body. I'm like, nah. But that was my hang up.
right,
She didn't like cussing and violence,
right,
and I didn't like sex, so we could watch nothing.
right.
So-
Fun household.
Right.
there.
No, I'm
Right.
joking
Yes,
a little bit,
yes.
but you know, we had the talk
Right.
with Max. It happened organically, and then it was like, well, now that you know about sex, everything's on
Right.
the table, you know. And we just had the talk with Walter. He's 12, you know, and it's it's one of those things. But I feel like you shouldn't be talking about heterosexual sex when they're 9.
Right.
They
You
don't
shouldn't
need
be
to know
talking about
it.
any kind of
Any
sex.
kind of sex.
You know.
Now,
If a
once-
child comes to you and talks about them,
well, that's an organic moment.
because here's what I call him my brother. At 5 years old was when I met him, between 4 and 5.
Okay.
You knew then he was gay.
Yeah.
There was no
Well,
doubt in your mind.
you're born that way, so.
And
at some
his
point
brother
it's gonna
and sisters, all they ever did was call him a faggot. You know, faggot was the big thing. And I used to tell him, why do you do that? Well, he's a faggot. Look at him. Okay, but why do you have to call him that?
Yeah.
Why do you have to be derogatory to him and that's your brother,
Yeah.
and so I could never understand that.
Yeah.
Because this boy wants to is
He just
more
wants
female
love like
or
anyone
whatever.
else.
Right. He doesn't know what's going on with his body. So he has to, all of his life, he had to fit into society. So he tries with girls, because that's what society tells him.
And a lot of
So
people
he's
get
wanting to
married
kill himself.
who are gay.
You know,
and they do
there's-
kill
that's
themselves.
right.
Yes.
That's right.
It's
because
tragic.
society doesn't. So that's where I have a problem with it. Is children at 5 have a sexual identity, whether it be male, female, gay.
Who they think are cute.
Right,
It's not
but,
a sexual thing, though.
They don't know a sexual
know what
thing.
sex
But
is.
that's
It's
what I'm
just-
saying, to where they know there's something wrong with them. Why am I thinking the
well,
boys
I
are
don't think anything's
cute?
wrong with them, but like,
No, but they're thinking their self, because I know Brian would always say that. I always thought there was something wrong with me. His brothers and sisters called him faggot. So that there's something wrong with a faggot then.
yeah.
So he didn't know. He didn't know what was going on. So that's where I say you have to be open. And if you are closed to the gays, to trans, to everything, and you have a child that is gay, trans, they're not going to come to you and go, hey.
Well, they would if you were open about it and didn't
Right.
care.
But that's where I'm saying our society is so closed on that.
Yeah.
They're so super focused on
Well-
trans. I mean, our country is just super focused on 1% of the population.
Well,
I mean,
the trans community has
they
become
have.
bullies in a lot of ways.
But okay, and see, there's another part of it to where everybody says they're shoving it down our throats, and it's like I don't feel like that because they've had to hide for so many years and not be their true authentic self.
I'm talking about
that it offends people who don't like them, and that makes them feel like they're shoving it down there. Okay, I don't care what you do in your bedroom,
Right.
but don't come out to Walmart and hold your girlfriend's hand. I don't want to see 2 boys holding hands. I don't want to see 2 girls holding hands. You do whatever you want to in your house.
Well, see, I don't even get bothered by seeing gays hold hands.
But
in
you
public.
know there are people that do.
Right, those are intolerant people.
So
I don't care.
that's-
I think the same amount of effect. I don't like seeing heterosexual couples making
Right.
out. It's inappropriate.
Absolutely.
I don't want to see it. My problem is allowing men to play in women's sports. I don't think that's right because.
But how many men play in women's sports?
I mean, enough to make a girl go brain dead with a punch. I mean, it's.
Well, okay, that's like 1 out of how many that it has happened to over the years.
So
Absolutely, that girl shouldn't have been. But who allows it to happen? No, I don't think a man should compete with a woman. It's different.
it is different.
And
That's all I'm saying.
And that should be on a base by base, because there's not enough of them to make it a national, to where
But they're
our whole
stealing
country.
scholarships from girls. They're getting first place and breaking the record by millions.
But
of
that's
places.
the schools or whoever's given that scholarship's fault. That's not that trans person's fault.
So. Well, what man?
See?
This is where we might disagree. If I went out and if there were a bunch of powder puff girls playing football,
Mm-hmm.
and I went out there and helmeted up, and I'm just beating the shit out of them,
Right.
and I win, I would not feel like a winner.
Okay, and absolutely. But that's where I'm saying it is up to the institution or whoever's putting on the sports deal to stop it at the beginning. Don't let that male, female, the trans person, do not let them compete in a woman's sport.
That's
that
what I'm
should
saying.
be a rule.
I agree. That's all I'm saying.
But that
make
they
the
haven't. That they're focusing now. They're hating trans people, where it's not the trans people's fault that they're playing those sports. It's the institution for allowing that to happen.
Well, why are they doing it? Is it because
Then you come into the discrimination.
I don't see that as
So can that-
discrimination, Peggy. If I saw a bunch of girls out playing and I just wanted to go play and I went out and just dominated and hurt a bunch of them, I think that's kind of selfish.
And it is, but that male who is playing in that female sport is identifying as a female.
Right, but biology still exists.
Absolutely.
They still
But that's
were
where I
born.
say it is
Yeah.
up to the institution
We can agree
to
on
make
that.
those rules.
It shouldn't be allowed.
Right. If you
And
are
I'm not hating the trans
Right.
person. I'm not saying that. There should be no hate toward anybody.
no,
I don't think it should be allowed. And that's
but
my
that's
only
where
problem
it has
with
become focused on is to the trans community is being plummeted to death. You know, there are going to be people who die
Sure.
because they can't get medication because they've been trans for 10 years
Yeah.
and now they can't get the medicine, so they have to go back and it could kill them.
But do you think you should start giving 9-year-olds hormones to prevent them from...
I don't think we're giving 9-year-olds hormones now. Who's giving 9-year-olds hormones now?
Peggy, you need to do some research.
Well, evidently I do, because then that falls back on the parents.
I agree. But what I'm saying is, like, the only two issues I have with the whole trans thing, like, you're not even aware of. So whatever you're
So
listening
evidently
to
not. I don't
is-
watch no news.
Right.
I
Well, but I'm
give
saying
up on news.
those are the problems I have with it. I wish to God I was gay. You know why? I could get laid every fucking night. Because dudes want to fuck. I wish... I'm serious. I wish I was gay, dude. I could get so much ass. Dude, I'd just be in there just pounding it every night. But God made me attracted to woman, and now I have to fucking fight for every piece of pussy I get. And I'm fucking married. So we'll leave it at that.
Oh, that's funny.
But I think you're a beautiful person.
I just feel like they're hating on trans too much, and I don't like that.
But that's a media spin,
Right.
blaming it
Yes.
on when in reality you're
I
right.
have too many trans friends who are scared half to death. That's what scares me for them.
And I understand your empathy,
You know.
and I do think there are people who hate trans people.
Yes,
I'm not
yes,
one of them.
yeah.
I don't care.
didn't-
I don't think trans people should be allowed to compete in women's sports. You're right. That needs to be a rule that's set,
Yes.
and not blame it on the trans people.
Right.
Blame it on the rules,
Right.
Milkers. We can agree
Right,
on that.
yes.
And I don't think
Because if
should-
you allow that trans person to play in that sport, and all the girls
Then
on
they're
the
just
team
doing- right.
are cool with it,
well,
then all of a
that's not
sudden,
always the
okay,
case,
but
though.
that's what I'm saying though. The majority of the team is cool with it. Then one gets hurt, then all of a sudden, oh nope, we can't do this.
Well, I don't think most
So
of them
that's
are cool
where-
with it, though. I mean, if you look at the Riley,
I
Gaines
think they
incident,
are until something happens.
till they get their ass kicked.
Right.
800 meters. Yeah.
Right. Then it's like, oh, well, he's trans. That's why he beat me. You know, when you were all in it together and you were winning, it wasn't.
I would really challenge you to find me one girl on this planet who is excited about playing with a trans man on their team. I think all of them think it's wrong. I don't think anybody in their right mind thinks it's fair.
So then how does it happen? Because you have, in team sports, if the whole team goes up and says, hey, we don't want this shit, then that's where
It's
I'm
not up
saying
to the
that
team, it's up to
organization.
the organization.
But that's where, if that whole team is coming together as a team
right.
to come up and say, look, we don't want this to happen, then it's up to that organization to go, okay, you're right, then it shouldn't happen.
They've been, so this is a story Riley Gaines told. This is about Leah Thomas coming in and competing in the women's swimming thing, right? So all the women were uncomfortable about it. They didn't want it to happen. They felt uncomfortable. They didn't want a man in the locker room. They didn't want to compete with it. And the school brought in a consultant group that came in and said, this is happening. If you speak out about it, we'll destroy you. You'll never get hired. We'll label you a transphobe and a homophobe, and we will fucking wreck your life. You know, this is on the internet. Please feel free to look this up. I think people were told this is what's happening right now.
Okay, is not that swimmer, is she not a hermaphrodite?
Leah Thomas?
The swimmer, I don't know what her name is.
Well,
The swimmer that they all...
no, it was a transgender.
That-
It was a man who had a they dialed the hormones back or whatever, and then just broke the record by insane amounts. Which, when they get the scholarship, right, the first place scholarship, it affects all these women. When the man wins, and they always win, they've broken every, and that's what the irony of it too is, like, fuck the patriarchy. Well, men are kicking women's asses and breaking every women's record that exists right now. I mean, go look that up. Men are breaking all these women's records. What happened to protecting our women? Like,
That's what I said. Women are disposable in this society.
but I think in terms of the women are getting fucked over here.
But that's...
If these guys are guys and they identify as women, it doesn't make them women, Peggy.
But there are a lot of women who have high testosterone,
Sure, but they're not
The-
guys.
but they...
Okay, I'll give it to you this way. If there was a chick who was so badass, she got drafted into the NFL, I have no problem with a woman playing in the NFL. If she can fucking take the hits and knock the quarterback down, that's fine. But you have to be able to perform at that level. I feel like when these men are competing in it, I mean, if you just look at the studies, the world record Olympian females, you know, in their early 20s,
Right.
their records are being broken by boys between ages 14 and 15. If you look at the studies.
Right.
That the boys' times are faster than the Olympic athletes when they're 14 and 15. When these kids are just getting
Right.
There is a physical advantage. And
Right.
you can't deny.
Right. And I don't. I
There-
don't deny
there are very
that.
few women who can beat the shit out
But
of
that's
women.
where it falls back on the organization
No, I
and
agree.
the team.
I agree. You shouldn't
and
hate the
things.
trans person
Right.
regardless.
Right.
I don't hate Leah Thomas.
So...
I think they were selfish. I don't think... I don't know what would go through your mind thinking, hey, I'm going to go compete against the girls knowing I'm going to blow them away. I do think it's selfish. I don't hate
Right.
them.
Right.
But
they
and you're
allowed
right,
that
there,
to
there
happen.
has been a lot of trans-focused hate.
Right.
And that's what you have a problem with.
Yes.
And I agree with
Yes.
you there. We can both agree.
Right.
But you see how we're getting through layers
Yes.
and layers and layers. It's so deep
Yes.
that we actually
Yes.
agree on more things that we disagree on.
Right. Yes.
But we're having to fight through all this bullshit
Right.
that the media has placed in between us.
Right.
But because you and I have an attitude that is willing to listen, I think we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
And I love you more for it. I thank you for hearing me out.
Absolutely.
And this has been a great
Anytime.
conversation.
Yeah.
We got to have you on again with
Okay.
Teresa.
Okay.
You'll set that up. You'll hit
Yeah. I'll
You get
see
her
if
on-
she'll do it.
You get the hook in the mouth, and I'll get a date for you.
Okay.
You're a beautiful soul.
Thank you.
I love you. I love,
Love
you. Your
you.
daughter is
Love you.
fantastic, and her husband is fantastic. You got to be proud. I haven't met
I
everyone
am
in the family.
very proud. Very
I want to talk
proud.
about Dylan for a second.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to come on.
Is he? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What has he been like in your life? Just as before we wrap this up, I just
Oh,
want to.
just everything. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Was that your
Just,
first interaction with somebody with
um,
autism, or?
Yeah, and that was like my first grandchild.
Sure.
Mandy, she lived with me when she was pregnant. It was her and I, and so whenever he was born, she was living with me. So
Yeah.
I got the first, 6 months she was there. So I got those first,
Yeah.
I'd be home, and I got to keep him Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, so on
Yeah.
my days off and things. So, yeah, we were really close. And then...
How old is he now?
22. He'll be
22,
23
okay.
in
I thought he was
July.
in his 20s, yeah.
Yeah. So huge.
Yeah.
He's huge.
Well, we might have talked about this before, but you always hear the marginalized society, and it's this person or that person. And having a sister with autism, I have always felt like that community is the most marginalized society because they can't be used as political pawns, so they're worthless to everybody.
Yes.
But they're the most beautiful, kind-hearted people. Now, they get real rowdy.
Yeah.
My dad and mom used to run a dance for special needs kids, and like it was my dad was the DJ. It was formal. They'd get out and dance. Those Down syndrome kids were out there grinding, dude. Like, I mean, they wanted to fuck.
Now, Mandy's bio was a musician, and they played at a VFW, and a little Down syndrome girl was there, and she had gone up and asked him to play "You Are My Sunshine."
Yeah,
and she was all the way in the back of the VFW when they started it, and she come flying down, running, and I mean, she just grabbed the microphone from Mandy's bio, and she started singing, and I was just sitting out there thinking, I swear to God, if you take that microphone away from that girl, I'll get up from here and stomp you.
Well, I told my kids, I took my kids to one of the dances. It was one of the later ones. And, you know, they've been around my sister a lot, but not a lot of other at one time. And I said, listen, it's okay to laugh. Because this is the funny shit you're going to see.
Yes.
And it's not malicious.
No.
It's that these people are having fun with no filter.
Yes. Yes.
They are just having fun. If you saw like normal people doing it, you would laugh.
Right.
Like they are just there. It's pure joy.
Enjoying that moment. They're just living in that moment.
And it's so beautiful.
Yes.
And some of these people, they're so kind.
Yes.
And I love it. And I really want to spotlight those kind of people.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not interested in having fucking victims on, you know. Not that, you know, I wouldn't do that if there was a right situation. But I think the special needs community is the most marginalized community. Yes. And I think there needs to be more attention to them because I feel like they just don't exist in society. Society just wants to...
A little woman that used to clean up at the lab, Susie, she's got to be 70, maybe in her 70s. But she dyes her hair this bright red. But she worked at the lab, and a woman would always take her to the fair and to the concerts and stuff like that. And one day I was coming through the break room, and it was right after the fair, and so I was like, hey, Susie, did you go to the fair? And she's like, no. I was like, you didn't? And she's like, no. Since the woman had stopped working at the lab, she didn't take Susie to the fair anymore. So I was like, Susie, next year, if we're still here, I'll take you to the fair.
Nice.
And so I forgot about it, you know. And so the next year rolls around, and I'm walking through the break room, and Susie's sitting there. She looks up at me, and she said, the fair's going to be in town.
She didn't forget.
I was like, you're right. You are right. And she's
Fair's
like,
in town.
She's like, I said, and I'll take you. And so I went home and I told Frank, I said, oh, fuck, I don't know what I got myself into. He's like, what? And I said, I got to take Susie to the fair.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're going to go to the fair? And I said, I have to.
Yeah,
you know, I was like, I told her last year, you know, yes. I said, I told her last year if we were still there, I'd take her to the fair. Well, thank you, Jesus. All she likes to do is go and pet the animals. She likes all the animals.
Okay.
So I take her like at 11, 12 o'clock. As soon as they open, we go. We walk through. We pet all of the animals. And then we, you know, if some of the corn dog, the chicken, turkey. They were there one day with the turkey leg, and they had fried those. So she got her turkey leg before we left. Oh, absolutely! Sweet. I love it. That is the funnest that, you know. I couldn't go this year because Archie and Frank and everything. Yeah. But that's what I told her. I see her at the store every now and then. I'm like, next year we're on for the fair. You know, we're going. That's really fun. But I took her every year since that. You know, and she'll call me, you know, a week or two before the fair, and I'll get a phone call. And as soon as she answers, like, hello, and she's like, this is Susie. I'm like, hey, Susie. She's like, the fair's in town. I'm like, okay, we'll be going. But I only have to take her to, you know, I was thinking, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to go to Midnight Madness and ride rides. I can't do this. But she's not a rider, so it worked out perfect. Well, that's cool. I just love her. She's just one of the, and that's who I would tell people at work. I was like, that's who I'm jealous of. Susie wakes up every day in
excited
a fucking
about life.
Wonderful world.
Yes.
Everything, there's not bad. I mean, there is bad because I guess her nephew or something got into some trouble with the law at one time. And she was in the bathroom.
Psychological baggage.
And that's what she was like. She's like, my nephew's going to jail. I was like, he is. And she's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I heard my sister talking. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I said,
But it's
Susie,
just
I've
a
been
fact.
in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very factual. It's not, dramatic. It's just she heard him talk that he's going to jail. So that was all.
Yeah.
Just, and I'm like, well, that don't make them bad people. Susie, I've been to jail. And she's like, you have? Yeah. And then it's like, okay, so okay.
Yeah,
Everything's
and that's
cool.
it.
So, but I just love her to death. Just
Yeah,
she's,
I've got,
to me, that is where I'm jealous. Because I have to know all this stupid fucking shit that the world's
I
going
gotta
on.
tell you,
And those people, they don't. They don't.
I
They
have
just are.
wanted to trade places with my sister before.
See? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And just, boom.
Yeah.
The stress. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
I've got boys now. I got to take care
Right.
of. When I was younger, I
Yeah.
did. I don't want to worry about all this bullshit.
Right. Yes.
All of life
Yes.
is bullshit.
And
man.
every
It's so
day they
greedy.
wake up just like, woo,
Yeah.
let's go. What can we
love
get in
life.
today? Yes.
Yeah.
That it's just,
Yeah. They're beautiful people. I got Levi Curtis coming on. He dated my sister for a little bit, and he's just a wild man, and I love his personality, and he's real excited about coming on.
Yeah.
My sister came on once, and
Yeah.
she's going on Nicole's podcast Sunday.
Oh, is she?
Yeah. So I just think it's beautiful. to
Yes.
Get back to them a little bit
Yes.
because they've made my life special.
Yeah.
I just feel like we were talking about earlier, the victimhood mentality, and everybody's this and that.
Right.
Nobody ever talks about these.
No.
these
I wish Mandy would have pushed Dylan a little more to be more social when he was younger.
Yeah, but they have a resistance to
oh,
that.
yeah.
There's a big resistance
and
to
Mandy's not going to
force anything.
no, she's more of the laid back of and she's always been. She could tune shit out.
Yeah.
Whenever he was a baby and he would cry, and I'd be getting up and I'm like, "What was he crying for?" And she's like, "I don't know. He's just crying. It's all right." No, it's not all right. We can't have him crying. So, but she's very chilled. So.
Well, it's a beautiful thing, and it's a beautiful thing you have with him.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I've heard you talk.
I'm
I've heard you
scared.
talk about it.
I'm scared for him.
Are you? Why would you
Just,
say that?
I don't know. Just the world, and
Yeah.
and he
Well, he's
doesn't
got you
like
right
to-
now.
Well, yeah.
He's got a good mama
Yeah.
and a good daddy.
Yes, he
So
does.
he's got
Yes.
people looking after him.
Yes, and that was one thing with Brandon I was so thankful for, because he loves them like they're his.
Oh, he's amazing.
Oh man. So.
I wasn't sure what to expect meeting him. I knew nothing. I'd seen a couple pictures, and they were clean shaven.
Yeah.
And this bushy ass mountain man came up. What the fuck is this dude? But man, we had a great conversation. Yeah, it was great. You're very blessed.
Yes.
And you know this.
Yes, absolutely.
And so am I.
Absolutely, yes.
I'm blessed to know you.
Yep.
Thanks for doing this.
You betcha.
This time, because we're going to do it again.
Absolutely.